All right. We are up and running. I doubt anyone's watching here yet, but as people come in, I'm going to share this to a few chats and such. Have to watch my own few chats and such. Have to watch my own few chats. All right. Hey, I see someone's watching. Hey, how you doing today? Sorry, just sharing this in the chats. Second day streaming. So, all right. Well, without further ado, I guess no one's here, but almost certainly no one else is going to join here shortly. So I'm just going to get started. We can transition over. Perfect.
You have defended.
All right. Just going to start watching this Bryce Yap content, and we'll see where we go from there.
You guys over there in California last week, even though some of the videos went a little viral, and that's fine, you guys treated us with respect. I hope you feel the same way about me. And, I think it's important to have good political discourse. But when you have somebody on Piers Morgan like Gavin, and I only knew I was going to be debating him like an hour or two before they said I was coming on. And I said, oh boy, here we go. Right. And we had a conversation yesterday off air, and we were talking about political violence, and I was talking with you and a few of your friends. And as I say before, we need to be able to call out political violence on both sides. Like if you're willing to say, yeah, what happened on January 6th was bad, right? There were some people that did some bad things, right?
Yeah, certainly.
Yeah, and what happened to Charlie Kirk was awful. I don't want any assassination attempts on Trump. But let me ask you this. When people say the left killed Charlie Kirk, or people say the left is trying to kill Donald Trump, what is your response to that? Do you agree with that?
So I wouldn't. I think a lot of the problem is with vagueness. People ask me, for example, are you a Trump supporter? And I refuse to answer that question because I think that can mean so many different things. I just respond with, if I were voting today for the president again, I would have voted for Donald Trump over Kamala Harris. Because if I say Trump supporter, it entails a lot of things. And when you say the left killed Charlie Kirk, that can entail an infinite number of things. I think, yeah, I like to do this here whenever I'm talking with Brian because he really thrives and excels in vagueness. Not just him, actually, a lot of political commentators, bipartisanly, actually. Is there no audio on this? A lot of political commentators. No, there is audio. All right. Yeah, no, a lot of political commentators poll this and they just try to keep it in the realm of vagueness because that way they never actually have to defend anything. Funny enough, my friend Andrew Holmes debated Destiny at one point, and this is exactly the same thing. He just jumps into, well, for these reasons, the Democrats are better. Andrew refutes those reasons. And then Destiny just says, well, Democrats have always just been better than Republicans forever. I think his exact wording was, Republicans go and fuck everything up and Democrats fix it constantly. You can at least admit that, right? And the reason they do that isn't to score points, it's just to keep you from scoring. It's like playing defense. because you literally can't say anything to that. Like if they're gonna jump in and say, "Oh well, you agree that all of history Democrats are better and Republicans have always been bad," like there's nowhere to even talk. There's no room for conversation because you're both just so diametrically opposed, and also the vagueness. There's nothing to even argue with there. Undoubtedly, that some rhetoric on the left directly led to the death and assassination of Charlie Kirk. I think that the ideologies that fuel the left, right? This transgender ideology of erasure, that they're attempted to be violently eradicated. That is obviously going to lead to the death of Charlie Kirk. The Marxist culture of violent revolution and overthrowing that led to the death of these political figures and these violent protests. So I would say, while the statement is too vague to be correct or not correct, I don't participate in vague verbiage. I don't use language so flippantly to win cheap political points. So I'd certainly say to everyone, you can say that there's some ideologies. You can say that some things that left-wing people said led to the death. I think all that stuff is more than fair, but please just try to be specific with your language. Because when you say the left killed Charlie Kirk, Brian here, for as awful as I think a lot of his opinions are and a lot of his motivations may be, I don't think that Brian was responsible for the killing of Charlie Kirk. I think the culture and dismissiveness of violence brewing in the left wing was largely responsible for Charlie Kirk's death. But I would not come out and say that the left did or did not kill Charlie Kirk. I just don't think that's
that. Obviously, we have a lot of disagreements, and we can talk about what some of my quote unquote awful opinions are. But what do you think is my motivation?
He's just so offended at the fact that I would even say anything. Like, right from the opening, he's like, well, we can get to what my awful opinions are. It's like, well, Brian, obviously, I think you have awful opinions, and you think, I mean, I voted for Donald Trump, and you seem to think that he's Hitler. So clearly, you seem to think that I have some negative opinions. I'm just now realizing here that we need to bring in the Bry Shap bingo card if I have access to it. Let's see. Can I find the Brian Shapiro bingo card? Open. Okay, we have it right here. Now we can start keeping score. Should we have it on Brian's side of the screen or mine? We'll have it on Brian's. It is to measure his performance.
What do you think my motivations are?
I try not to attribute motive. I think I said might, and if I didn't, then again, apologies for being so flippant with my language. I'm not one who's above admitting they're wrong.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Neither am I. I'll tell you what my motivations are. I go on the air every day, not necessarily trying to change anybody's mind. I'm going to give you my opinions. I never would endorse violence. I never would endorse anybody getting death threats or anything along those lines, as I've received those myself. But my motivation is just to go to work every day and make a living and be able to share my opinions and hopefully do a show that is also a little bit entertaining. And, that's really my only motivation. I'm going to tell the truth. I'm not going to say things because people are paying me to say it. Like, for example, an hour after this assassination attempt, when you had a bunch of right-wing grifters on social media in unison talking about building a ballroom. If you want to talk about motivation, let's talk about people on the right, the grifters like Laura Loomer and Jack Posobiec, Nick Sorter, and some of these idiots. I think they're idiots that talk about building a ballroom as if that might have changed something. Like, I just think the motivation there is to make money and get clicks, and that's really all they care about. I've never said anything on the air.
All right, I feel like that's a mark on the bingo card. I could be entirely wrong. For those who don't know, this is the Brian Shapiro bingo card. So Brian tends to say the same things over and over again, and we use this bingo card to mark whether or not he's saying those same things. So I don't think face is super red yet, but we'll keep going. The White House ballroom?
Yeah, they did it an hour in unison within minutes of each other. Dozens and dozens of grifter accounts. Clearly, it was orchestrated, and I think it's despicable and disgusting. Instead of talking about the security breach, on how that person could have gotten anywhere near that room, which is an utter failure, how this person who was mentally ill got his hand on guns.
So his argument is that the Republicans can't care about Trump's assassination attempt, because that same day some of them posted about why we should build the ballroom. I feel like there's got to be something here. Maybe no, definitely not a straw man, but just really weak argumentation from Brian. I'm going to skip ahead, try to get into when we start
idiots
talking about
on social media that reiterate everything that Donald Trump is saying. It started with Donald Trump talking about building the ballroom, and then you had all these morons that were echoing that, and I find it to be despicable. But anyway, we'll agree to disagree on that. Let's talk about the war in Iran. And I'm not saying that you support everything that Donald Trump does. However, This is a big deal. I think we can agree on this. He said he was going to be a no war president. He said he was going to be a peace president. He said there would be no regime change. Now, all of a sudden, we're 2 months into this war where thousands of innocent people have died. We're spending $2 billion a day. You voted for Donald Trump. You would still vote for Donald Trump. Are you okay with this war?
I am more than okay with this war. I think this war is the outgrowth of the Obama admin's weakness in the JCPOA. And it was from the moment of the signing of the Iran nuclear deal, this war became entirely inevitable, completely unavoidable. Like, no matter who was in office, this war would have needed to happen with the way that the JCPOA set up nuclear relations with Iran.
But Donald Trump said he was going to be a peace president. He wasn't going to start a war. And I would also ask you, what have we accomplished?
Yeah, so I almost feel bad for Brian because I know he's in a position where he can't ask a simple question because, I mean, he can't, right? That'll make him look like an idiot. And him and his goons are the ones where if you ask a simple question, they just spaz out at you for not knowing what you're talking about. When in reality, you know, some people got some simple lapses. And so here he has no idea what I'm talking about when I say from the moment of the signing of the JCPOA, the war became inevitable. And that's just so apparent because he doesn't address what I said at all. He just goes, well, Trump said he was going to be a peacetime president, which has nothing to do with anything. But I think that earns us our first square on the bingo form. Oh shoot, how do I edit this? We have apologies. We're having some technical difficulties editing the bingo form so that we can track Brian Shapiro's blunders. All right, well, we're just gonna have this up to the side, and I'm gonna figure that out while the video plays. But yeah, no, he just doesn't know what he's talking about, and he constantly deflects when that's the case. Donald Trump says a lot of things, doesn't he? And a lot of presidents do. You know, no one's blameless, and people make campaign promises they don't cash all the time. When Trump said, "I'm going to lower prices on day one," I don't think anyone thought he was telling the truth.
A lot of his voters are stupid, and they did. I disagree with you.
Maybe the, let's say, least informed of his voters might have believed that, but it is incredibly clear to anyone who knows literally anything that it is literally impossible to bring down prices 11% in one day.
If you went to Donald Trump's rallies, as I did, you would know that there were a lot of people that believed him when he said that he was going to lower prices on day one and he was going to end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours. Back in 2016, when he said he was going to build a wall and Mexico's going to pay for it.
So I have a quick contestation here, and it's, a lot of people tend to think, oh, people on the, if you're a left winger. So Brian loves to go to protests and argue with college-age students the way that leftists claim Charlie Kirk did, but he does it in a completely different way. He'll like go up, bring up his cell phone, and then he'll just start like hounding the students till they ask him to leave them alone. And then when that happens, that's like the ultimate key to his victory. Because then he can say, I thought you were in favor of freedom of speech. I thought you supported what Charlie Kirk did. And it's just so disingenuous and not true at all. I need to like pull up a video of Brian Shapiro yelling. He goes to protest and he'll literally yell at the kids like, oh, Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit. I hated that guy. But he won't just lead with that. He'll talk with them on camera, be not kind at all, start to get rude. And then when the people are like, I don't want to have a conversation with you anymore, or when Brian calls him stupid or an idiot, and they're like, I don't want to talk to you anymore, you're clearly being rude. Then Brian all of a sudden he launches into, I thought you guys supported freedom of speech. I thought you guys liked it when people had open conversation and dialogue. It's like, dude, they don't like it because you're this like way older guy walking up to college students, hounding them, forcing them to be on camera. And then when they don't want to be on camera, they're not even being rude to you. They're just like, you know what, man, I'm done being recorded. You go up and you start yelling, Charlie Kirk was a piece of shit and he deserved to die. Charlie Kirk was evil. It's like, why do you think anyone would want to talk to you? If I spoke the way that you spoke, I would be dead. Like within a week, if I went to left-wing protests and did that. And Brian would be over here on a show saying that I wasn't even assaulted like he's done to, I think, Savannah, right? That's her name. A woman was assaulted on camera and she went because she was to the hospital or such because she was concussed. And Brian's like, where are her medical records? Why hasn't she released them? Why haven't they come out? And so, yes, I don't think Brian consciously supports political violence, but there's something in the back of his head that just okays it when it happens to a Republican. Even the sexual violence, right? For those who don't know, Brian Shapiro forwarded me pictures of a nude friend of his after a debate where I said that I didn't think porn was a good thing for humanity. And he did that unsolicited, but I guess I'm a Republican, so it's not sexual harassment. And I don't think he thinks in his head it's impossible to insult or sexually harass somebody who's on the right. But just whenever a case comes up, he's just really dismissive about it. And he just there's nothing that can make him believe any of them. I just got in. What did I miss? Oh, we're just talking about Brian Shapiro here, and hopefully trying to fill out this bingo sheet while watching this quick interview. And yeah, you didn't miss much at all. Let's hear. You think people on the left don't know anything, and if you're a right winger, you think people on the right don't know anything. And what it comes out to be is most people don't dedicate 5 hours of their life to politics every day. And so those of us who do are going to find that the supporters, the average supporter on the opposite side of the aisle, is actually not too educated on anything. I could talk to you all day about the conversations that I've had with UC Berkeley college educated political science students who don't know absolutely anything about policy and enacting change. But I don't think I heard my Android notification go off in the back. Yo, if anyone's watching right now, can you please let me know if the audio is balanced correctly? Still new to this update. What I can say is that Donald Trump made some false campaign promises that were impossible to keep. And despite of all that, he's doing a better job than Kamala Harris would have done. And the Iran war for the situation that Trump was thrust into is going about as well as it could possibly go.
So when you say he's doing a better job than Kamala Harris would have done, by what metric and what standard? What are you referring to?
So I would mainly refer to the economy would probably be the most solid. And
the economy's doing really well right now. Is it doing well?
The economy's doing pretty decently. And I think just look at the tone here. Like look at how I speak, and then look at Brian. Brian's like, economy's doing well right now. Do you think the economy's doing well right now? And I'm just kind of talking normally and just solid. And
the economy's doing really well right now. Is it doing well?
Am I hitting that? It's doing well. It's like, dude, stop aura farming, and no one is impressed. The economy's doing pretty decently. Inflation is not outside of if you look at just before the Iran war, like I said, the Iran war was entirely inevitable, and we can talk about that. If
the Iran war is part of the economy, we're talking about where the economy is at right now. So
what I'm saying is, because given that the Iran war was inevitable, because that has hurt, obviously inflation.
Disagree. It was not inevitable.
Well, but we could argue that. But what I'm saying is, let's just look at before the Iran war. Unemployment was in the natural range when Joe Biden left office. I miss those headphones. The ones I'm wearing in this video, they were a lot nicer than the earbuds I have in right now. But that's employment was below the natural range, which is not a good thing. Inflation has been incredibly healthy.
Hold on. Going by that standard, you want to talk about before this war started, but yet you want to talk about when Joe Biden took over, when we were in a global pandemic, which conveniently you're not.
No. When he left office. I'm not talking about the global.
So when he left office, what were the unemployment numbers?
3.9, right? It was 3.9, 3.8, somewhere there. Can you imagine the fear that Brian Shapiro felt? Because like all these left-wing debaters, they just memorize a few numbers and they don't actually know what any of them mean. And then they love to just talk with uneducated MAGA voters and be like, oh, but did you know unemployment was higher under Biden at the end of or higher under Trump than Biden at the end of his term? And so the fear that I'm just imagining that he felt when he said, do you know what the unemployment numbers were at the end of Biden's term? And I actually knew them. Like he's out of options. That's all he had. Range?
It was a little bit higher than that, but you're close to it. And I would, what was inflation? Where was it headed? What direction was it going? And what was GDP growth? What were the private sector growth numbers when Joe Biden was leaving office?
So I'll answer that, but first I do have to give some contextual nuance that the Biden admin was not responsible for the decrease in inflation. The Federal Reserve did bail out the Biden administration. Anybody who knows anything about economics knows that interest rates were at 3%. They ended at 7%. And to say that Joe Biden was not responsible for enormous amounts of inflation with the Inflation Reduction Act and that's just not very educated in the policy. So the inflation rate was in a very good range, but it was caused entirely by the Federal Reserve and offset by insanely high interest rates compared to.
You're into cause and effect then. So why don't you want to talk about this war? And why do you want to talk about where the economy?
So again, every single time. So I guarantee you Brian Shapiro doesn't know what the Federal Reserve can do with monetary policy to change interest rates and change inflation rates and change, all the foreign bond and foreign exchange markets. I guarantee you he doesn't know anything about what those relationships actually look like, which is fine. Not everybody needs to. But the fact that he comes out and the second you'll see later in this debate that I say, oh, I'm not too familiar with that particular case. He's like, you're not familiar with the case and you voted? Do you know what you're talking about? And it's just so clear to all these moments. If I could go back and change anything, I'd probably be a little bit more aggressive and just saying like, hey, dude, you clearly don't know what you're talking about. Because point by point, he doesn't. And I just let it slide. And I think I left it too much up to the viewer to try to figure out for himself whether or not that's the case. I'm reading a message here by Descartes Kane, 5469. Brian can't entertain more than one thing at a time. Unemployment being worse than we thought isn't bad if unemployment is from government layoffs, which many were. Yeah, 100%. If you look at the real jobs creations under Trump and Biden, those numbers are a lot better for Trump compared to the just general unemployment rates. And that matters because government jobs aren't real jobs. They're just a misallocation of money. And any cut down on the bureaucratic state is good. So to give Biden credit for lower unemployment when it's caused by the hiring of government bureaucrats is very, very ridiculous. But again, all this nuance escapes him. He doesn't know the difference between any of these numbers.
Economy was before the war. If you care about cause and effect, why aren't you talking about the global pandemic? Why aren't you talking about the war in Ukraine? Isn't that cause and effect? Why do you not talk about the war?
I want to make a very particular point here. Is I actually don't think looking at numbers for unemployment and inflation statistics is all that useful because there's so many confounding factors. I've always believed this. I'm with the Vienna School of Economics, I think that it's very hard to pull empirical data to make an economic argument. I think you actually need to defend the actual policies instead of looking at the effects so much. Not because the effects don't matter, just the effects are virtually.
All right, so you're a data guy. So you care about data before you make an argument. Is that a fair characterization of your thought?
See, what I said just went completely over his head. I say, look, data is important, but what's more important is the policy, because if we're going to look at the data, we have to understand that there's a lot of noise, right? Like comparing Trump to Biden, there's a ton of stats that Biden supporters will cite you, and the Trump supporters will say, well, that's not fair. It was kind of like, right, Biden created 1.9 million jobs. Yeah, after the pandemic and all the markets opened back up. So did Biden really create those jobs? On the inverse, Republicans will say, well, Biden created a bunch of inflation. And Democrats will say, yeah, because he was dealing with the aftermath of the COVID epidemic. And so what I raised, Brian, here is let's not look at the data. Let's look at the policy and let's put our economist hats on. You know, like we're talking to a little kid. Let's put our econ hats on. We're going to pretend to be economists. And we're just going to try to understand what policy does what. And he's just like, so you don't like data. You don't like data. And it's like, God, so many words and all of them just went over his head.
Process. Is that fair?
I care about theory before I care about data, but I do care about data before I make an argument. So it goes theory, data, argument.
All right. Who won the 2000 and who won a
like literally spell it out. Theory, data, argument. Now, no, watch this. Brian doesn't know what that means. 100% he doesn't know what that means. So look what he does. We're talking about a very particular thing. We're comparing stats from Biden's administration to Trump's. And then I say, well, let's focus on the policy. And look at this little maneuver he pulls here.
Is that fair?
I care about theory before I care about data, but I do care about data before I make an argument. So it goes theory, data, argument.
All right. Who won the 2000 and who won a free and fair election in 2020? Since you care about
again. Just absolutely out of nowhere. There's definitely who won a free and fair election. Is that not here? Not a serious person. What about where's free and fair election? Someone's got, was 2020 stolen? There we go. All right. That sentence is too vague. Can I make it a little bit more specific? I would say Joe Biden.
Is there any evidence of widespread voter fraud that could have changed the outcomes?
No. I would agree with you. That's what I was just saying to.
And why does Donald Trump still say it was rigged and they stole the election?
This has absolutely nothing to do with anything we spoke about up until this point, but he thinks it's a winning argument for him, and it wasn't. You know, Donald Trump has a unique ability to convince himself of falsehoods.
To lie?
Yeah, no, so convince himself of falsehoods. I think he believes he won, but this is, again, all aside the point of economics, and I would love to talk about that. And I try so hard. Every time, you'll see throughout this debate, he keeps changing the subject, and I keep going, well, let's try to focus on this. And then he's like, well, no, this is more important. And then I'm like, fine, whatever. I know I can win on that issue as well. I'll move on. But then when he gets cornered on that issue, he says, well, this is more important. And eventually I just get fed up with it. I'm like, Brian, please let me
I'm happy to do that with you, but you're talking to me about data with respect, Miguel, and you're a data guy. Great. and you voted for the guy who lied about the 2020 election. There is literally no data to back that up. He's the only president in American history that has not conceded an election. You know that's why January 6th happened, where people died. It's an attack on our democracy. He continues to do it every day. He won't admit that he lost.
Guys, does this count as Trumpsburg for the bingo card? Does this seem like a big enough spurg out for the Trumpsburg? I don't think his face has turned super red yet, so I don't think we can mark that, but this might be Trumpsburg.
So my question is,
I'd like to add a few things. First of all, former Vice President Aaron Burr actually did attempt to stage a coup against the United States government.
I said the only president in American history.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, that is fair. That is fair. Presidential candidate. Yes. I'll say as well. Again, I think that there's this tendency to go, look at this bad thing about Donald Trump. Look, I'm looking, I see it. The bad thing is right there. The thing is I'm not going to look and say Donald Trump did this thing that I think is bad, so therefore I'm going to punish him by voting for a president who I think is going to lead to numerous deaths, numerous hikes in taxes that affect low-income families, that affect middle-income families. I'm not going to make that trade-off on principle. I vote for whichever presidential candidate I think will do the better job, and I can support Trump's economy over Kamala's economy.
If he's doing a better job, then why are his approval numbers in the low 30s? And Republicans are not very happy.
So if you actually compare Trump's approval ratings at this point in his second term, it's pretty comparable to other presidents at the same point in their second term. On top of that, again, he cites something here. And he says, well, why are his approval rating so low? Yeah, second-term presidents usually at this term have very low approval numbers, are comparable to the previous presidents. It's a little bit lower, but they are much more understandable in that context. And Brian just doesn't know that. And it's fine that he doesn't know that. If he just says, oh, I didn't realize that. I didn't know that. I never looked into that. He could say anything, but instead of just owning up and saying, oh, I didn't know, he just decides to like double down. Oh, really? Really? I'd like to say that I actually
approval rating. Joe Biden wasn't at 32%.
No, but he wasn't. A second-term presidents tend to be less popular.
What were Obama's numbers a year and a half into his second?
We need to look into it. I'm not.
I completely disagree with you. He was not in the low 30s in term number two.
And I'll also say I actually am not somebody who thinks public approval ratings matter all that much. You know, I think what's going on in Iran is something that was never going to be popular but needed to happen, and I think it's an immense act of bravery when the president goes against popular opinion to do things that need to get done.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the war in Iran, since you wanted to get back to that. So we were told at the beginning that this was about regime change without any idea of how they were going to do that. So they killed the Ayatollah. I don't feel for his death, of course, and I'm sure you don't either. But now we're told there's a smarter and less radical regime in there. We have his son who is leading. There are more younger and more capable people that anybody with any foreign policy knowledge would say are more radical than even the last, for lack of a better term, regime. So then when that narrative didn't work, we were told that it was about
stories. I can't remember where the story was published. It might have been
in the world that hold Tomahawk missiles, the United States being one of them. Doesn't that bother you that after a horrific mistake was made?
I'm going to skip forward to when we start taking phone calls from his.
I'll read a YouTube super chat. Lori says, so Miguel, what do you think about the Trump?
So
Hale wasn't sent out there. He sent Jared Kushner.
Please don't.
Here we go.
I want to talk to Big Joe.
Take because you're citing a quote where the guy said there was nothing to see. That doesn't mean there wasn't an investigation.
Todd Blanche and Kash Patel have
enormous amounts of,
but differently. But Miguel's nice enough to stick around, take some phone calls. 702-221-SAVE. 702-221.
By the way, I don't know if people know this. Apparently, Brian Shapiro, people now, because he sent me those unsolicited nudes and never really apologized. He sent like a fake apology. He apparently people call into his show and talk about me, and the second they say my name, he hangs up and moves on to the next caller. So I guess he doesn't love reminiscing on our past memories together.
283 is.
And for those of you who don't know, he sent me unsolicited nudes from a woman. So, yeah, he's not the kindest, most or either not the kindest or smartest person. I'm not sure which category to peg him into.
The number to call. Let's see here. Who are we going to first here? Let's go to Scott. Scott is first up on PTL. Hey, Scott, you're on with Miguel. Go right ahead.
Yeah, hey, how are you? I got three things for you. One is
three things. That's like more than one. That's a lot of things. All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, you can add. All right. So as a lefty, I'm pissed because I'm demonized. I'm bisexual. I get disability, and I get government help. And people hear what they hear, and they see what they see with Donald Trump and Trump supporters. So some people, because you want people to have guns, will resort to violence because we're fed up. We're fed up with the hypocrisy, the lies. I've been listening to this whole interview, constant shifting, can't answer a question, won't answer a question, and I'm tired of it personally, and a lot of people are tired too.
All right, well, hold on.
That's
Miguel, he's saying that he's tired of the deflection and the excuses for Donald Trump. What do you say to that?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd like to say I don't think I ever made an excuse for Donald Trump whenever I disagree with him. Is that true? Are 3/4 of his callers are now trolls from Cool, who go over their calls that night and on his show? Wow. I don't know to say thank you or to say stop, but yeah, I need to think about more what my morality and role in that should be. But I guess thanks for the support and thanks for trying to get the word out at the very least. I'm super vocal.
Yeah, you did.
Whenever I disagree with Donald Trump,
Right,
I like to be incredibly vocal. I come out, I say, I think his statements on the 2020 election were atrocious. I think his statements on the Robert Mueller investigation really made me question his humanity. I think that there's a lot of terrible things about this man. I also think he happens to have the best foreign policy record of any president of my lifetime, certainly. I think that his economic policy, that Kamala's economic policy, actually would have been the worst economic policy in the history of the United States if it had passed. And you know this if you listen to nuanced left-wingers, because they're arguing. So all of his callers always, they all kept calling in and saying, you're just a Trump fanatic. You're so obsessed with the guy, you're never going to see what's wrong with him. But the problem is, like, I'm not that big of a Trump guy. Like, yeah, I voted for him, and if he ran again today, I'd vote for him again. But I'm not a big tariff guy. I'm a big free markets guy. I'm a big freedom of speech guy. I think that we should be nicer to our political opposition. I'm not the biggest fan of Donald Trump. So when his callers call in and the entire debate, Brian keeps going, what about Trump making fun of a former veteran? And then I go, I'll do you one better. What about Trump dodging the draft? Like I'll say stuff like that. And Brian's like, oh, so you still support him? It's like, dude, listen to the words. I think he would be worse than Harris by a lot. And people just do not care. Like it just goes fully past their head. Because in their mind, if a Trump supporter isn't like a cult-like follower who never has an individual thought of their own, then that's their whole identity, is hating on the Trump mushroom gobblers. That's why he calls people Trump mushroom gobblers all the time. So somebody says, normally I'd say don't do it, but it's super good faith. They only confront him on things he's actually done / said. Yeah. I agree. I thought about it last night. I think that's referring to people going and asking Brian about myself. I don't think there's anything wrong with people going and asking him questions about things he said publicly and done publicly. But yeah, I'd 100% agree that I have no problem with people going over and talking with him. But I haven't thought about it too much, so my opinion on that might change. And as always, Kamala's policy was so bad it never would have passed. And
but you like Donald Trump's foreign policy. Can you tell me what Russia sanctions they've given up?
Actually, I don't like his. And look, this is a crazy, this is the epitome of the difference between me and Brian. Is in this debate, we talk about a lot of things, and I keep trying to go, do you support this thing Trump did? This thing Trump did? Things that I think Brian would support just with his political ideology, and every time he says, no, I don't support what Trump did. When on the inverse, he says, what do you think of Trump's Russia policy? And then I say this, Russia policy, but the past few presidents have been so terrible. Oh, actually, I don't like his Russia policy, but the past few presidents have been so terrible on foreign policy. You know, Obama being entirely responsible for the Iran war that's going on right now, and Biden's weakness also greatly leading to the invasion of Ukraine.
Did Biden roll out the red carpet for Vladimir Putin on American soil? And who is that?
So when he rolled out the red carpet, what else did Trump do to Putin that day? He had a B-2 bomber fly over Putin's head to intimidate him, right? There's an aura of professionalism and threats that Trump is lodging at Putin.
Oh, that worked out.
Yeah, so he complains that Trump let out the red carpet for Putin. But if you look at the exact same video that he's talking about, if I know how to spell, apologies. I really can't spell. Oh my goodness, that was a struggle. Yeah, he rolls out the red carpet, Right here. There's a red carpet for the two, very executive. But at the same time, he flies the B-2 bombers over his head. Like, how dishonest do you have to be to look at this clip of Trump clearly aura farming? Look at how scared this man is. This is a man who doesn't know what's happening. Putin is like a man that's obsessed with his health in his old age, constantly swimming, constantly working out, doing everything he can to live to 100 years old. And he hears a B-2 bomber flying over his head, and he's just met face to face with the true glory of American technology. And then Brian sees this. He goes, why is Trump rolling out the red carpet? Why would he possibly do that? He's trying to make Putin look like a hero. It's like, no, he's clearly trying to aura farm on Putin's head.
Out really well. Who's benefited more from this war in Iran, the United States or Russia?
Who's Russia's biggest foreign deliverer of munitions?
Well, answer my question first. Who has benefited?
I'm answering your question by saying Russia has not benefited from the Iran war. To say that is
how much?
They benefited by the rise in oil prices, but also Iran sells Russia the majority of their drone tech.
So you
like
have
Russia. There's a reason Russia is so upset with the United States that we're blocking shipments of weapons.
I'll agree to disagree with you there based on financial.
I just love that he says, I'll agree to disagree with you. When he says, you think Russia is not benefiting from this war? And I literally cut him off because I know exactly what he's going to say. Yes, Russia's making more money on oil. They also buy almost all their weapons from Ukraine that they don't produce themselves. Or not Ukraine. They purchase all their weapons from Iran that they don't produce themselves. Their drone technology, Iran has some of the best drone technology on earth. And then the second I say something that he doesn't know, he goes, well, is so upset with the United States that we're blocking shipments of weapons.
I'll agree to disagree.
Agree to disagree, guys.
Financially,
agree to
person
disagree.
Who's gained most from this is Vladimir Putin and Russia. Let's get back to the calls.
Financially, yes, but they've been starved. I love this comment by Deckard Cain. I'm not sure. Deckard Cain's probably it. And the draft, the left is suddenly pro-Vietnam. Yeah, exactly. Like leftists want to pretend like during the Vietnam War, they weren't telling people to dodge the draft. And then when Trump dodges the draft, now they're like, why did he dodge the draft? This is so immoral and evil. And it's just, there's no consistency in the ideology of weapons for this war. So I don't think that there's a reason that Ukraine hasn't come out and told us that we need to stop in Iran. It's because it has been incredibly advantageous to Ukraine that we have stopped Iran, because Iran is Russia's either largest or second largest ally in the global scene, right? Like, we all agree with that. No one's disagreeing that Iran sells Russia their drones.
I will agree to disagree with you on the relationship we have now with Vladimir Putin. Let's see, who are we going to next here? Let's go to Dennis. Dennis is calling out of Seattle, wants to talk to Miguel. Hi, Dennis. Go right ahead.
Hi,
good.
I want to talk to Miguel.
Yep.
If he's so pro-war, how come you don't go volunteer to fight over there?
All right. Well, I think that might be a fair question. What do you say to that, Miguel?
You know, the idea that if you don't volunteer to fight in a war, that the war shouldn't happen, I think is a little bit ridiculous. I think that there's a lot of wars, say the wars that we should have partook in that we didn't. You know, World War II, namely, we took forever to get involved. The Rwandan genocide, I don't think anyone would have been opposed to putting boots on the ground, although I wouldn't have personally enlisted. Look, our men and women who sign up to fight in the military are incredibly brave. They're incredibly capable, and to act as though we should never utilize them, I think is incredibly inaccurate. Every single American casualty is a tragedy, but this is what these people are built to do. It's what they live to do, and it's what they've signed up to defend their country from.
Would you also characterize it as ridiculous when you dodge the draft?
Yeah, Trump's. I think the draft is actually an incredibly difficult moral area. Yeah, so now it's terrible to dodge the draft. I actually wonder what Brian's opinions on dodging the draft would be if we weren't talking about Trump. Because obviously, when Trump is in the context, he's always going to think it's bad. But if it were just, should the draft exist, I think Brian would say no, and he'd say that I haven't thought about as much.
What about dodging the draft though and lying and saying you have bone spurs? Would you label that as also ridiculous?
Yeah, no. So the whether or not the draft should exist is an incredibly philosophical question that I quite
honestly I didn't ask you whether the draft should exist. I'm specifically asking you, the guy who you supported for. Do you think it's quote unquote ridiculous when you dodge the draft 5 times and lie and say you have bone spurs?
Let me give you a layup. I think dodging the draft and then saying you prefer a soldier who doesn't get caught, I think those two things in congruence are so right here. He says, well, isn't it awful that somebody would dodge the draft? And I go, Okay, let me compromise with you, Brian. Because again, I was just trying to get somewhere productive and try to like get him to be friendly by saying, "Here's what's bad: is Trump said that thing about McCain. I prefer a soldier who doesn't get caught." And he also said, and he also dodged the draft. Those two things in congruency with one another seem really messed up. And he just goes, "Oh yeah, McCain. What did you think about that?" I think it's obvious what I think about that. That's the whole reason I brought it up, to let you know I'm not like a crazy cult guy. I'm somebody who just doesn't have a particular view on this one issue, but he's just incapable. It's like in his head, there's no left or right wing, right? It's right here. I'm a registered independent, because he refuses to say he's a left winger. In his head, there's good guys and there's bad guys, and the good guys are the ones who are on Brian's team porn, team paying women for sex, team hedonism, and going out drinking every other night and making fun of Kai Schwimmer for being a virgin. And then there's evil, right? So that all those things, those are good, but the other side is evil, and there is no left or right in his mind. There's only right and wrong. There's only wrong in Brian Shapiro. And so I just, it's hard to take him seriously. Crazy. Yes. I don't think that I don't know, or I haven't thought about it enough to say dodging the draft is always 100% bad. So
I think when you lie and you make excuses and you lie about your medical record,
I like that a lot. I've seen. I'm waiting for someone to ask. So if Trump sent troops into Iran and Russia got involved, leading to a draft, would it be immoral to dodge the draft? Watch his head explode. Yeah, 100%. Because Brian would be like, well, the draft is wrong, and we shouldn't be doing it.
So that
and
you can dodge the draft. There's one word that I can use to describe that, and that is called a coward. Thank you for the call, sir. We got to move on to some other callers here. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. I want to go to Virginia, and I want to go to Maureen, who wants to, I believe that's correct, right? I see Maureen out of Virginia, right? Hi, Maureen. What's going on? You're talking to Miguel. Go right ahead.
Hi, Miguel. So nice to speak with you. I just want to say that we had 2 American citizens executed.
So just listen to how nice Maureen is being here. It's actually funny because notice I don't say anything. I literally am going to sit there quietly, and she's going to like rage bait herself.
On the streets of America. And most people in the world know that that's exactly what happened. So no matter how much you want to say that it was justified, it was not justified. And the murderers are not in prison. And it's not acceptable in the United States of America. And I know you're young, and I know you're smug, and what we call a smart ass, but you're not very
Maureen. Well, I hope I hope you can.
Let me tell you something. Let me tell you something right now. You're young, you're smug, you're misinformed, you're an idiot, and you're Adam
Maureen, the slander. Oh my goodness. You started so nice. You were like, "Oh, hey Miguel, it's a pleasure to meet you." And then
I am sick. I just got back to New York, and everybody is like, "You have a madman running the country." And I said, "I'm sorry. It's very sad to see American citizens executed in the United States of America, and the murderers do not go to jail."
So Maureen, hang on the line. Maureen, hang on the line. Let's give Miguel an opportunity to respond to what you just said. Go ahead, Miguel.
So, Maureen, I don't think I'm going to be able to lay out a fully eloquent enough case to convince you on Renee Good and Alex Purdy, but I guess what I'd say is I hope you get some peace. You have a lot of wisdom. If you'd like to educate me on how to come off as less smug, I would absolutely love that. But, I think that it sounds like you're maybe a little bit bitter, and I just wish and hope and pray for the best for you, Maureen.
No, I'll pray one thing for you. How old are you?
I'm 21.
21. Okay, great. Well, let me tell you something, Miguel. When I was around 17 in high school, 1978, I had a young man come from Chile because there was a secret police junta in Chile that were pulling people out of their homes, killing them, okay? And I had a boy, because I was an activist, and I had a boy come to our school with my fellow students to speak about what was happening in Chile, okay? And when I see a congressman in the United States of America say that
So what I love about this is that all of Brian's viewers are actually a lot like him. I feel like with a lot of streamers, like if you went to like, I don't know, one of Speed's average viewers, it'd be like a 6-year-old who's high energy, kind of chimping out a little bit. If you went to like one of Cool streamers, it'd be a hardworking, maybe like Midwestern Californian, maybe a Californian, Republican working hard, but they wouldn't necessarily be exactly like the person. But all of Brian's viewers are exactly like Brian. Like they call in, they try to pretend to be nice, and then immediately they just start freaking out when I don't even say anything, and they start like yelling at God. When I was your age, it's like, dude, we get it. You're old. I like be not if you want to say something to me and for me to listen, and you're like, you're a smug kid. You need to wipe that attitude off your face. If an older person tells me that, I'm going to take that quite to heart, unless they're like yelling it at me after like first impressions, guys. I'm not going to take your advice seriously if you freak out the first time you talk to someone a third of your age. Like, it's low-key hilarious. Yeah. Raven Play says all his listeners are boomers 60 plus. 100% true. All the people who called it are old.
You should do the same thing as Pagetti did, throwing people out of helicopters. United States of America, wake up. It is scary. And let me tell you another thing. When we see masked men in secret police, don't equate them to police officers, because I'm Irish, Italian, American, and all my family's police officers. These aren't police officers. These are nothing more than what happened.
Well, I agree. So I agree with Maureen. Thank you for the call, dear. So here's where I 100% agree with Maureen. You only need 47 days of training to become an ICE officer. That is absurd, Miguel. I want to read a YouTube super chat. Lori says, so Miguel, what do you think about the Trump kids making millions of dollars with this world? Thanks, Brian and Justin, for telling the truth. So Miguel, that's a fair question. What do you make of that?
When we say making millions of dollars off this work, can you clarify what we mean by that?
Well, private contractors. You can also talk about, the Ponzi scheme when it comes to, why am I drawing a blank here? When it comes to.
So it's frustrating because I talk to these people and I do it in good faith, and it almost makes it so that it's just not productive at all. Because if you're trying to meet someone in good faith and they're not trying to do the same for you, it just ends up being me conceding. Yeah, no, I didn't like when Trump did that. I didn't like when Trump did that. I didn't like when Trump did that. But then the second I try to flip the script on them, they're like, what? You're asking me a question? It's like the Hassan Piker strategy, right? You go, oh, you're going to get mad at me for shocking my dog during a genocide? You're gonna ask me about Kamala Harris's wealth tax when Donald Trump was found civilly liable for grape? It's like, okay, what do we do? Like I just can't even talk to you. Like you're trying to clip farm, but you're just not experienced enough, even though he claims he's been doing this for 25 years, which is longer than I've been alive. But you're just not experienced enough to get a clip on me. So instead, it's just this boring conversation of you trying to say something, and then I respond to whatever you're saying with 10 degrees higher of certainty and awareness about the situation. And it's like, okay, we got nowhere because you don't want to talk and they don't want to talk. And, if I get one of these opportunities again, I'll probably try harder to, I don't want to say clip farm, but to just make it clear when I say, hey, you didn't know that. And that's like a bare minimum requirement, is that you should know that, because that's low-key intro stuff if you even did a quick Wikipedia scan of this issue. And I'm just going to be doing that next time I speak to any of these people.
Crypto. There's a lot of private contracts that are made, and yet Republicans have a problem with Hunter Biden selling paintings. So I think that's a fair question to ask you. Go ahead.
Oh, are you talking about the Trump family's crypto scheme? Is that yeah. So in chat here, I see, nope, look it up. It's not 47 days. You also need on the ground training with field training. Yeah, that's all true. Not only that, but the people who shot Renee Good and Alex Preddy, both of them had been part of ICE for years. So they've had much, much more than that. Oh, well, clearly they're undertrained. The officers are shooting people in the streets. No, these were experienced officers who had many, many years under their belts.
That, among other things.
So, yes. So even if it was the amount of training he's saying, it still doesn't really make sense to say that those are evidence that they don't have enough experience before being on the field.
Yes.
Oh, okay. So, I mean, I'll come out straight and I'll say that the crypto thing was, while technically not illegal, was incredibly stupid on the part of Trump. I think that someone in his family came to him and said, oh, I have a brilliant idea to help all your fans and whatever. And then the rug gets pulled, or whatever they say. And, no illegal conduct also doesn't affect who I vote for president. As I keep saying, I just disagree with the voting philosophy.
What about What about Jared Kushner receiving $2.1 billion from the Saudis when he was in Donald Trump's administration? What do you make of that?
Yeah, so I'm actually going to be honest. If, again, and I've said this before, if everything you're saying is exactly as you say it, mm-hmm. I believe you. I'm inclined to believe that's not the case. But yeah, no, I'll look into it. There's a lot of people who there's definitely corruption, and we should prosecute.
You're not aware. You're not sure if Jared Kushner received $2.1 billion from the Saudis?
When
You're
you
not-
say two, no, I'm sure that there was a transaction from the Saudis to Jared
$2.1
Kushner. I don't
billion.
think he'd lie about that.
Yeah. So
But,
before the last 6 months of Donald Trump's first administration, Mike Pompeo wasn't sent out there. He sent Jared Kushner out there. He received a $2.1 billion check for investments. Let's go to Pete. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it. Pete is calling out of Florida. Hey, Pete, what's going on? You're on with Miguel. Go right ahead.
Hello, Miguel.
Yes.
Hey, this is Pete. How you doing, partner?
How you doing, Pete? I'm doing great. Oh, you're like the nicest one to call so far.
Oh,
If I'm not mistaken, Miguel will grow to regret those words in just 30 short seconds.
I'm the nice guy in the world. But what I was going to say
Or maybe
is,
not. Maybe
I
this
do
one was
kind
nice.
of agree with Maureen because she got a couple good points. What I'd like to say to you is, you love Donald Trump and you seem to like him a lot and all this. I just want to ask you one.
I don't know where you got that impression, if I'm being honest. I don't think I've come off as somebody who loves Donald Trump throughout this call. I tolerate the man. I think that he's one of the better presidents of he is the best president of my lifetime, but he also happens to have a lot of enormous character flaws. He's very arrogant, super narcissistic. So, I think he's himself.
Okay, I hear you. But you said you'd vote for him if again. But that's all right. I just want to let you know. What do you think about this 1.5 trillion that he wants to spend on the war? And what do you think about? And you're 21 years old, and that's fine. But the other thing is this. I've got children. All my children are a whole lot older than you are. But what I'm saying to you is, dude, you say you know a little bit about economics and everything, but you know what this is going to be? How inflationary this is, and what this is going to do to your life and your children's life. What they're doing. You can't spend that kind of money. It's not how much money you make; it's how much you spend. I understand that the first time in history that what happened was what was it? I heard today.
The interest is higher than our defense spending.
Gross domestic product. Our debt is higher than that in 1 year than it's ever been. It's never reached that before. Where he's destroying our country is what he's doing. The other thing is, I understand that he's a rapist or convicted felon and all this other stuff. So why do we support this guy?
Yeah, no. So I have a few responses to a lot of the things you said. So first and foremost,
Thank you for the call. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you so much. You were so kind and respectful. Again, every single one of his fans assumes that I have to agree with Donald Trump on literally everything. Like, well, you really seem to love this guy. You seem like you're gonna want him to give away your daughter at your wedding in your stead. And it's like, no, like where do you guys get this? The entire debate between Brian and I here, I'm just saying, like, yeah, Donald Trump says things. I don't like him as a guy. I probably wouldn't leave him alone with my daughter the same way I wouldn't leave any other politician alone with my daughter. And he says exceptionally crude things, and I don't think it's very gentlemanly, and I don't think it's very kind. And I hate his tariffs. I hate his crypto scheme. I hate this. And then they call in and they go, well, you really seem obsessed with this man. It's like, dude, what are you getting this from? When did I ever say that I was like a huge Trump fan? Maybe it's frustrating because I know my own life and they don't. But like, my friends literally call me not a Republican because of how much flack I give to Trump. And I said, I'd vote for him tomorrow if he ran against terrorists again. But I just don't know what this disinformation on the subject of the debt. So what seems unabashedly 100% true to me is that the Democrats would have worsened the debt problem by significantly more than Donald Trump. I assume Brian's going to take issue with that. It's just not substantiated or supported by the evidence of the tax rates that they were supporting and also the expenditure plans that they had. Say for something like the Green New Deal, which is an estimated $100 trillion plan. Like none of these things are nearly as bad as the increase in military spending would be. I'd like to say that as a percentage of our budget, I think military should be much greater. I don't think we should spend more on military. I think we need to slash Social Security, slash Medicaid, slash Medicare, slash pretty much all welfare programs that we have access to.
Slash all welfare programs, but give the biggest tax breaks in the history of this country to the top 1%.
So when you say biggest tax cuts in the country to the
$100 billion.
Yes, Brian. Oh, I wish I could go back. Yes. Amazon needs to pay less taxes, Brian, and you need to pay more. I mean, he literally says at one point, I say, the Trump accounts, it's $1,000 per child. And then he freaks out and he goes, $1,000? You can't even buy a steak dinner with $1,000. What? Where's Brian eating? I mean, I'm not gonna say he's fat, but the man
can't buy a
definitely
steak
eats well.
dinner with $1,000.
Yeah. Hold up. Let me,
That's
guys.
pretty crazy.
John Paul is joining the live. Let me get him up and in here. Let's switch views. I think we're close. Yes.
I need to know how my camera looks.
How you doing today, John Paul?
I'm doing well. Doing pretty well.
Hey everyone, let's give a big welcome to John Paul JP here. Just get you sized up well. How do you? I need to like have a conversation with an actual streamer on how to make this stuff more seamless. But yeah, no, 100%. Brian's just yapping about whatever. If you wouldn't mind, JP, we are currently. Is this gonna mess things up if I do this? Oh, we're currently here watching Brian Shapiro. You know, as per usual, filling out the bingo card, doing what we do. So
How's the bingo card going?
You know, honestly, way slower than last time. He's really. I think it's because I'm reacting to phone calls, so he's just speaking much less. But yeah,
That makes sense.
Let's hop over to this content. Let me get this sized up properly. Okay, perfect.
$1 billion, the top 1% last year in 2020.
Yes. I know what you're referencing. So largely disingenuous. The corporate taxes are essential to lower. Corporate taxes are the worst tax that you can levy on a population. This is agreed upon by virtually every economist.
So well, I disagree with you, but so people that are struggling living paycheck to paycheck, you're totally okay with taking.
Do you see my face there? Source? Like I want to interrupt him.
Agree with you, but
this is agreed upon by virtually every economist.
Could you put captions on?
Well, I disagree with you, but so people that are struggling living paycheck.
I say corporate taxes are about the worst tax you can levy according to pretty much every economist. And then he says no. And so this is just my look of disbelief. Like what source? Like what do you mean no? You can't just say no. I make a factual claim. Corporate taxes hurt growth more than any other tax. And Brian just says no. That's not allowed.
Paycheck to paycheck, you're totally okay with.
What other taxes is he proposing that are worse than corporate tax?
Maybe a wealth tax. A wealth tax might be worse, but they're not.
Well, I guess so. But like out of the ones that exist that we've seen, you know, the funny thing is there's no actual empirical evidence, or at least not much empirical evidence on unrealized gains tax, just because they're so horrible, like very obviously horrible.
Oh, John Paul's growing here.
I am growing, and I don't know what's going on beneath me, but
what's going on with the audio? That's my question. Seems like some interesting things are happening auditorially.
On my end?
Yeah, I think it's from you. I don't know. Does he sound normal to y'all or just strange to me? It's okay. Whatever it is, we'll figure it out.
20 million people off of Medicaid coverage, taking millions of people off of food stamps.
I'm going to listen to myself on the stream.
I think there's hierarchies to the things that I would do. I think first and foremost, Social Security is an incredibly wasteful system that either needs to be reworked or abolished. What is their
plan to rework it?
Privatization. So that's what we see with the Trump accounts. Bush actually had a plan to do this before he got involved in Iraq.
I haven't seen a plan from the Trump administration. Let's go to Jason.
So are you familiar with the Trump accounts? No, I actually want to talk about this because it's something you can support about Donald Trump. Are you familiar with the Trump accounts?
Explain.
I say something you can support about Donald Trump, and Brian's I say never. Never. I have something you can support about Donald Trump, and just the look of disbelief on his face. And he holds it too. You can support about Donald Trump. Are you familiar with the Trump accounts?
Explain. No.
So every newborn child, I think after 2025, is now born, and they're given $1,000 into an S&P account by the government.
Wow, that's going to get really far in this economy, Miguel. $1,000. Wow. Do you know how much it costs for healthcare in this country? $1,000. You couldn't even get a physical for that much money in this country. Who gives a crap?
I want to say that I was an athlete in high school, and I can guarantee you that a physical costs way less than $1,000 every time I've gotten one. I don't know. Has anyone in chat ever paid $1,000 for a physical? Even uninsured. Like I've gone and gotten like cash for a physical without providing them my insurance, and even that was significantly less than $1,000.
About $1,000. That's something that you think I'm going to say, oh, wow, what a great credit to families, $1,000. Are you kidding me? They're taking away healthcare coverage, Miguel, from 20 million people. Do you know what that is per household? You know how much that costs people? And you want me to gloat about $1,000? You couldn't even go to a steakhouse for that much money in this country.
First of all, what steakhouses are you attending, Brian? You're a lot better off.
You haven't been in Vegas. $1,000, though. I'm being a little facetious here, but $1,000 is nothing.
I'm literally putting it into an interest calculator to see how much $1,000 turns
Thing.
into.
It's nothing. If
over
your
your
child
lifetime.
has
So
any
what is if you invest $1,000 into a child and then they hold it till they're 65, what does that $1,000 turn into?
Do
At a
you
10%
really,
interest
do you
return?
really think that's going to happen in this
Yes.
country?
Yes.
Okay. Well, I think you're insane.
Why wouldn't it happen? It's already happened. The accounts have been started.
All right. Well, I'll be respectful.
Mind you, he said he has no idea about the Trump accounts and he doesn't know anything about them. And now he's saying, do you really think that's going to happen? That's not going to happen. Like, dude, just say you don't know. Just be like, oh, if that's true, sounds good. Like he's incapable of even saying that. He can't concede anything. Because
it's okay. His audience will think that he knows anyways, so
yeah,
it will appeal better to the majority of viewers.
I mean, in his head, I think that he just, he actually, and when he thinks of Donald Trump, he just sees like the red hellfire and an image of Satan. And so when I say, here's this thing about Donald Trump you'll like, he just refuses. He's like, no, it's impossible. Like, he literally says, it's impossible. That would never Trump would never do a good thing. No. And he's like having an identity crisis on camera because he literally cannot comprehend Trump doing something good, because that would just override everything he thinks he knows about the world.
Here, but I don't see that happen.
Gotta love him.
Why? Wait, but the accounts have already been started and the $1,000 have been put into the account.
So you want me to praise Donald Trump for giving you $1,000 if you bring
what is $1,000 after 65 years of 10% interest? What does that come out to?
That's not going to happen. Even if it did.
Why wouldn't it happen? Why wouldn't it happen?
Because people need money right now. They're living paycheck to paycheck. They don't want to
okay, so he completely changed the argument. He goes from that's never going to happen to, well, it doesn't matter because people need the money now, which, by the way, I can go on a whole tangent about this, about how financial help only really helps in the long term if you want to do some market manipulation. And even then it's like, you're going to have to reallocate resources from somewhere to somewhere else. But the fact that he's like, no, we need a magical solution that doesn't cause any inflation and gives us money now. Like, oh, I just hope he has the same standard for Biden, because he doesn't. He doesn't have the same standard for anyone.
He probably liked the American Rescue Plan, which injected $2 trillion into the economy, like during a time where there was a lot of supply strains. So I don't know. I think him and a lot of people on the left are in favor of just like giving people money, not like realizing that when you give people money, that like makes everything more expensive.
Yeah, that's why we need to raise the minimum wage to $1 gazillion, John Paul. Why are you such a billionaire bootlicker, JP? That's what I always get. I always get called or Jew. I get called the Jew a lot for saying that I don't like minimum wages and such. I see here in chats, Deckard. Can you tell me if I'm saying your name right, Deckard? Deckard. A physical for sports for my daughter every year. She's a year younger than you. Is $80 uninsured. The 2 years that I didn't have coverage, that was 22 to 23. So probably still less than 100 now. Yeah, that's what I remember. I remember getting a physical for like $70 back when I was in high school, around that same time. But yeah,
I think I spent $2,000.
Did you go to Brian's doctor?
I did. Yeah, Brian referred me,
and then he took you out for a $3,000 steak after. This is not true. People are better off than they've ever been in the history of the country.
What are you talking about?
This is an inarguable fact. Real wages are at the highest that they've ever been.
People are in the best position they've ever been at in the country when we have gas prices that are over $5-6 a gallon where you live. People are better off in this country when the unemployment rate has risen almost 1%.
Sorry. What is the unemployment rate at right now?
About 4.5%.
Okay, so it's perfectly on the healthy range, 4 to 5%, and it's just under the middle.
That's people would distree with you on what's healthy and what's not. But
wait, who would disagree? Who would disagree? No. This is
people out there that can't put food on the table that are on food.
No, so this is so funny because he's like, I say no, like economists will agree. And what's funny is the left always likes to say experts, and I'm saying no, Brian, who would disagree with me? And he's like, well, a lot of people. Which people? So many of them. Okay, name an economist. He's like, how about the everyday working Americans? It's like, oh, okay, so we're doing this, right? Now, all of a sudden, we don't care what the experts have to say. It's like Democrats and left-wingers in general, they're like, we need to trust the experts. Until it's economics, then they just become flat earthers. They're like, no, that's not real. We need to take the money from Elon Musk. No, now. They need it now. They need help now. It's like, oh my God. It's like actually arguing with a child who only refers to the rules when it benefits them, and then when they'll just stick a gum in another girl's hair whenever.
Yeah, and then even when they refer to, the experts in academia, a lot of the times they're only in studies that are not really very well made. And a lot of the time, like, the CSIS study is one about political violence. That's a very good example of one they often refer to. But there's this like really big replication crisis going on in academia where they're literally not able to repeat the experiments and get the same results that they do in cross studies. And really the only like studies that I've seen that have been able to accurately replicate previous studies with the same type of experiments
Okay,
usually are in favor of
make
more free market principles than anything else, like the corporate tax rate, for instance, where you have a whole bunch of studies. Like I can literally name 5 studies that indicate that the corporate tax rate, about like 10% increases to it, could lead to negative 2% of economic growth, and that's roughly the amount that Kamala Harris would have wanted.
Yeah, 100%. And so, like, whenever a leftist says, "Oh, well, you don't trust science, you don't trust the experts," literally just ask them about their opinions on economic policies, and all of a sudden they become like actually just flat earthers. Like, no, everyone's wrong. All the experts have to be wrong. Because Trump can't be good. It's like, okay, all right, we'll play that game. This is
It's great. It's
like
a lot
the
of
biggest.
fun to actually do some research and see what a lot of experts are saying that are in your favor, and then bring it up in debates, and they just like absolutely reject it. Canine Gecko says, Brian becoming increasingly emotional and defensive as this debate progresses.
Yes. Oh wait, have we touched on any of these territories? Let's see. Not has he called me not a serious person? Huh, I'm not sure. We did skip through most of the debate, but I don't think we've gotten anything here. If anyone in chat sees anything I don't, let me know. But yeah, let's continue. Piece of economic consensus that there isn't in economics. Like you're just arguing against you're arguing against science
It
here.
might
This
help
is like
to bring the
universally
bingo card
accepted.
up in the
That
video.
4 to 5 is the healthy range
You
of
can think I'm
unemployment.
arguing against science. You guys are arguing against
I know. I'm I have a John Paul who debated you guys here at Berkeley is an economics major. Every lefty professor here at Berkeley in the econ department. Oh, John Paul mentioned JP. He said your name. 4 to 5% is the healthy range.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, so
Anything below that would be
John Paul
anybody in your
mentioned.
eco department thinks that the economy is the
Add that
best
to the
it's ever
bingo
been,
card.
they would call you crazy for making that.
No. I'll concede this. The economy is the best it's ever been, except for 3 months ago. But in the past 5 years, past 4 or 5 years, the American economy is healthier than it's ever been in the history of the
What are you
world.
talking about? When Donald Trump left office his first go around, we were all locked up in our rooms. Nobody was working and people had no money.
And whose fault was that, Brian? Like Trump was just sitting there. He's like, I'm going to shut down the economy. And that's his fault. This is why I get so mad when the liberals are always like, oh, Biden boosted the economy. Look at how good it was doing when he came back. After he opened the country that people refused to let Trump open. Obviously, it almost makes me think that like the Democrats refusing to open the economy until Biden was in office, one of the best decisions ever. Because now Biden just gets all the credit for what obviously was going to happen anyways, which is the bounce back after COVID.
It's so ad hoc that the left always uses this strategy because on one hand, they'll say Donald Trump handled COVID, wrong. And they'll say that they'll kind of criticize the right wing view of being anti-lockdown and wanting to open the economy up faster and, being against all of these regulations that the left is in support of. And then they'll say, well, the economy was locked down because of Donald Trump. And yet they're pretending like it's not a state by state issue. When you compare like California and Florida, one was very clearly a lockdown state and one was very clearly trying to open up as fast as possible and as many places as possible. And they just try to completely ignore that for the most part. After like the 3 weeks that Donald Trump had the shutdown for initially, he left it mostly up to the states. And then Joe Biden took about 2 years before he actually opened, like 1 to 2 years before he actually opened the economy back up. It's incredible that they're trying to index this onto Donald Trump when it's literally all of the Democrat policies that have been stimulating this. So they're just the complete opposite of principle.
Yeah, and it's also Trump's Project Warp Speed that gave us a virus before his administration even ended and handed it to Biden. I do not think that Democrats would have been physically capable of that level of deregulation. I do not think anyone would in the Democrat Party would have allowed that much deregulation to take place. So it's laughable when they bring up these arguments.
What do you mean at 3 months? I don't know what you're
which is a test. So yes, unemployment was incredibly high, but as a right now, if you just look at the median income per family and the unemployment rate, people are better off than they've ever been in the history of the country. This is true.
That must be why the president is polling about a negative 60% when it comes to.
No, I'm not even saying this is because of Donald Trump. I'm saying this is because of liberalism.
I'm telling you right.
I'm gonna tell you, and just so everyone knows, that's neoliberalism, not United States gay liberalism. If you put $1,000 in an account and you put it in just the S&P 500 at a 10% interest return rate,
okay, we'll see.
That is a $500,000 investment for our children when they retire.
Right now, most people would tell you they're not.
500,000. That's like 200 steak dinners. That's nothing. How many meals does that even get them, JP? That's like that's less than a year of dinner.
Happy with Donald, and by the way, you could look at polling. They're not happy with Donald Trump's handling of the economy. We only have about 10 more minutes left here, so I want to try to get to more calls, Miguel.
And I'll say polling is largely fake and gay. So polling is not a real. Oh, he said it. Thing.
Why would you?
A lot of the times,
why would you use the term gay to describe?
It's a joke. It's a joke. I'm being a little silly. But,
so I know, but that's not that. You're 21 years old. You're not 10 years old. I'm trying to be respectful.
Miguel, would you like to apologize for your homophobic actions at this moment?
Yeah, I actually could not be more sorry. It was pretty fake and gay of me to say that on camera. Not very appropriate at all. But like, I don't know. I don't want to touch on it too much because he literally brings this up later in the conversation, like minutes later. And I say everything that I have to say about it. But just Brian Shapiro, I don't think he's that sensitive. I think he pretends to get mad. Like, I actually don't think that he cares that I said fake and gay. Because he calls people MAGA mushroom gobblers all the time. And he's like, why are you trying to have sex with me? Whenever a mail caller who's MAGA gets mad at him. It's like, oh, you're trying to have hate sex with me. It's like, dude, like, you clearly understand that making these jokes is a thing that people do. You do it all the time. But when I do it, it's like, how dare you? How dare you say that I... Like he sounds like Pierce Morgan up there.
I'm gay.
It's incredible. You know, I gotta say, it's really refreshing and nice to not be able to listen to the audio and have to, you know, go through the horror that it is listening to Brian Shapiro talk.
As a negative. That makes you really bad.
No. It's a reference to someone who I don't respect at all, Candace Owens. She coined it. It's kind of funny.
Okay, well, Candace Owens is a complete imbecile. No,
she's a total idiot. But
you think it's a problem?
Is he listening to anything that I say? Anything that I said? Did he listen to anything that I said? I literally say it's a reference to somebody who I do not respect a whole lot, Candace Owens, and he's like, "Well, she's an imbecile." Brian, I just fucking said, like, are you deaf? Are you not listening? No, it's a reference to someone who I don't respect at all, Candace Owens. She coined it. It's kind of funny.
Okay, well, Candace Owens is a complete imbecile.
She's a total idiot. But
you think it's a pro? You think it's a? I mean, I don't want to belabor the fact here. I want to get to more calls. But you would call something gay if you disagree with something? What's wrong?
No. Look, I'm perfectly fine with gay people. I have no problem with gay.
So don't you think how that might be a little bit offensive to people who are gay when you say, "Geez, I think that's stupid" or "That's wrong," and you use the term gay? Can you understand why you would lose a little bit of credibility when you talk like that?
No, I think I lose a lot less credibility when I keep my cool and don't yell at people who are half my age over a little call when they say an economic fact, which is that medium wages are the highest that they've ever been.
I would call it passion. I think when you use the term gay with respect to put a negative tone on something, some people would say it's like it's a joke. So it's the same way that Destiny says a joke about Charlie Kirk dying. I'm not.
Yeah, Destiny. No, I'm just saying. I think insensitive. Yeah, so I'm not comparing you to him. I'm just saying generally. But also, he does interviews with Destiny all the time, and he's never once gone, Destiny, why were you making jokes about Charlie Kirk dying before it was even announced that he was dying? Why were you on Twitter making fun of all the Turning Point people and saying things about them while they were all worried that Charlie Kirk was going to die? Like, he'll never take the time out of his life to confront Destiny about those things. The second someone says fake and gay, or somebody else on his show, I don't know, maybe someone in chat will be able to remind me, says the word retarded, every time that woman's name is brought up, Brian goes, yeah, she likes to make fun of people who are mentally handicapped. She likes to say retarded. And it's like, Brian, you only remember when it's people that you don't agree with. But then when you're talking with Destiny, you never think to go, hey, man, posting a screenshot of Charlie Kirk's Wikipedia and his born date and his death date and saying who's going to update it before it's announced that he's dead wasn't very cool. Do you feel bad about that at all? Not even that. He's just cool with it. It doesn't matter, because if it's a right winger, it's awful. It's terrible. They're supporting Trump, and Trump is Satan in Brian's mind. But when it's a left winger, it's like, it was probably just a joke. They probably weren't serious.
Yeah, the retarded clip that you're thinking of, I think that was when he was debating Rachel Wilson. And it was quite funny because he was telling her that she's very evil for using the word retarded and making fun of mentally handicapped people. And he goes, and you know what? That's retarded. Like in the same exact debate as he's complaining about her using the word retarded. And on the Destiny point, yeah, like after Donald Trump's assassination, when the firefighter got shot by the bullet, um, Destiny made fun of him, and he said, "Yeah, if you go to a Trump rally and you get shot, I'm making fun of you the next day." And somehow that doesn't even matter at all.
I love this comment. And I'm not Donald Trump, because Brian will always say, like, well, I'm not the president of the United States. If you say, well, Brian, why are you say Trump shouldn't say that? You say stuff like that all the time. You'll say, I'm not the president of the United States. But in the same vein, as this person points out, I'm not Trump either. Like why am I supposed to always answer for the things that Trump is saying, but you're never supposed to be held to the same standard that you hold other people to? But I'm supposed to be held to the standard of Trump for things that he said? It just doesn't make any sense. Like, he loves to have it both ways. Really, that humor is based on insensitive claims, and if we had to live in a world where humor was detached from those, I don't think it'd be very funny. And I think you'd agree with that.
I don't think it's funny to attack. I don't think it's funny to attack a group of people because
no, I'm not attacking anyone. I have no problem with gay folks.
Okay. Well, then I would advise you not to talk like that and say something is gay, because that's the language of like an 8-year-old. Let's go to Jason. Jason is next up on PTL. Hey, Jason, you're on with Miguel. Go right ahead.
First of all, I just want everybody to hear that he said we should get rid of Social Security, which all the old people that poured into it went from working from 12, 13, because that's that generation that put every dime in. He wants you to just starve, because before Social Security, old people were starving to death. And number two, he wants everybody that...
I'm sorry, I just can't. When old people, whenever I say we need to abolish Social Security, and they go, but we're struggling so much, dude. They are literally, let me pull this up. What is the richest generation in U.S. history? If I can type. Baby boomers! They're the richest generation ever! And they want us to just do cash transfers from 20-year-olds who are working a job trying to survive university. They just want us to tax out, give us 10%. We're going to give it to the elderly. They earned it by paying for their $20,000 home and, having their entire life to build wealth. They deserve Social Security. It's like, no, actually, let the young people have their money. And if you want money, then maybe you should just have saved up some for yourself, or maybe you should keep working. But it is certainly not my responsibility to give that to you.
And they always talk about, like cutting taxes, like giving money to the rich. Like, oh, you're giving money to the rich by cutting taxes.
Yeah.
It's
and then Social Security.
Well, what is literally taxing people, like taking their money away by force and then giving it to people who are more wealthier than them?
Yeah. Do you know who Robert Reich is? Robert
yes.
Reich is this pseudo-economist, and he was a professor at our school, and he's like really big on TikTok, like millions of subscribers. But he made a video that was like, oh, the reason Social Security is failing is because of inequality. It has nothing to do with the fact that boomers like me are retiring. When if you just look up Robert Reich, let's see how much he was making before he retired. A man who was getting paid, let's see, $323,000 after benefits. $323,000 after benefits in 2022. And he has a pension of $100,000 today, is getting paid out Social Security. This man is getting paid Social Security just because he's earned it. But no, it's not his fault with this terrible policy that, here we go, at Berkeley. It's not his fault with this terrible policy that young people can't afford to live. It's billionaires' fault. Because if anyone's created value in their life, it's socialist Robert Reich complaining that other people are too rich while he literally makes almost $500,000 a year and gets paid out money from Gen Zers scraping to get by. Yeah, the billionaires are the problem, Robert. Sorry. That's a little side tangent because this guy's talking about Social Security.
Used to that have cancer and all that. He wants y'all to die too. This 21-year-old. But here's the one question I need to ask you. When did you Republicans become so classless? When you debate, you're not supposed to interrupt. You're not supposed to overtalk. You're not supposed to act like you're superior than thou. But in your debate,
Again, the same pattern. They start off the call. Hey, Miguel, how you doing? Oh, it's so great. Oh, I hope you're doing well. And then 30 seconds later, I don't even say a word.
talk. You're not supposed to act like you're superior than thou. But in your debating style, all you've done is interrupt, overtalk, and show no respect. You know, back in the days when I was not in Christ, if you would have disrespected like that, I would have punched them out because I don't listen to you talk. But when you don't hear me talk and you overtalk me, that would have got you knocked out. I digress.
All
Have
right.
a great day.
Miguel, I think you have a fan.
I think Brian would actually disagree with you on my proclivity to constantly interrupt. I don't think I'm quite guilty of that charge. I do try to interrupt for clarity, but never to keep someone from making.
I have a lot of issues. I have a lot of issues with Miguel. That I'll be honest. That's probably not one of them.
But even outside of that, you say Republicans. I want to make it clear. The Republicans who want to ban Social Security don't exist. It's like Thomas Massey and like Ron Paul. Republicans don't want to ban Social Security. I want to ban Social Security.
Yeah,
Let me make this abundantly clear.
I think that's horrible. I think
I'm nothing like other Republicans. Social Security, you're saying the old people who paid into it, they put all the money in. That's not how Social Security works.
You are like Republicans a little bit, especially on social media when you say things are gay. I do.
Oh, 5 minutes later and he brings it up again because Brian's just so mad that someone would make a joke about being gay, even though he literally can't go a single live without making one himself.
We hear a lot of Republicans.
Someone in
talk
chat
like
said
that.
he's the Yorkshire Terrier.
You do have some
it's not just Republicans. Liberals do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's wrong too. And that's wrong.
Okay, and that's fair. I think if you're going to be consistent and say that nobody should say things derogatorily, I just think that
no. You listen. I
think there's specific carve outs for certain communities. I think people complain about white people all the time, which is something that I do. I'll say, oh, that's so white of you, and I don't have a problem with it. It's called a joke, and people need to grow.
I think there's a difference between, and then we'll get to some more calls here. We only have about 5 minutes. I think there's a difference between saying that's so white of you. And by the way, I would also say white people in general in this country don't have a history of discrimination like homosexuals do or minorities. So I think you need to get to the history books. But I know
we just need equality under comedy. Everyone needs to be able to be made fun of. My friend Marty, if I catch him eating like a green bean casserole, I'm gonna be like, oh, that's so gross. That's like so white of you. It's a joke. So
yeah, I know, but I think it's a norm in society where we attack people based on skin color or sexuality, and I think it's all wrong. And I think we can call people.
Yeah, no, and I'm not attacking anyone.
When I call somebody an idiot or a moron, I promise you, it never has anything to do with the color of their skin or their sexuality. There's a
well, if you call someone crazy, does that have to do with their mental state? I'd assume not, right? Like these things are things that terms become jokes, become colloquial, and I think that everyone should be a lot less sensitive. If you want to make a joke about Hispanic folks while I'm here on your podcast, I wouldn't have a problem with it. If I made a joke about white people, I don't think you would have a problem with it. And if I'm going to make a joke about, by the way, I want to point out here. So I say, oh, well, Brian, if you wanted to make a joke about me being Hispanic, I wouldn't mind at all. And he's like, that's terrible. That's terrible. Let's look at this other post where I'm speaking with Micah and Brian's entire comment section. So I'm not saying that Brian is his fan base or his fan base is him or they speak for him. But look at all these comments. Miguel is lucky not being stopped by ICE yet, but give it time. Miguel, let's see. Miguel better keep his ID in his pocket. So it's like, liberals love to be like, oh, you shouldn't make jokes. You shouldn't be saying those things. Meanwhile, the second there's a Mexican who happens to be semi-pro Trump, they're like, oh, you're going to get deported, little bean boy. You better be gone. Oh, how's the water feeling on your back, kid? And it's like, okay, so we're not even like pretending to not be okay with racism when it's not convenient for you. You're not even going to be subtle about it. Just hardcore, unapologetic racism.
It's nuts. That's really funny. It's hilarious. I remember actually there was one caller. I don't think we've gone to the caller yet, where she says like, "Wipe that smile off your face, Miguel," and then she says, "Because ICE is gonna come get you." And then all the commenters were like, "Notice how he stopped smiling the instant she said that ICE was going to deport him." It's because he knows that the Trump administration wants to deport him because of his skin color.
That's
And then, and I remember that exact moment because guess they completely missed the joke. You were like, "I feel like I'm Speed. I need to lock in."
yeah,
And then
yeah.
you tried like doing, and then you tried doing that, and they're like, look at him.
Yeah,
He
well,
knows
I
ICE
mean,
is gonna deport him."
we'll get there, but I love how they're like, "Oh, he shut up when I said ICE was going to deport him because he realized it was true." Maybe I got awkwardly quiet because you said something racist, and it's like, what do you even say when somebody's just like, "ICE is going to get you, boy," and hush, and they even say like, "Hush up, boy," and it's like, what am I supposed to say other than like a little laugh and like that's kind of old. Your age might be showing, Darlene. That's her age, the manga destroyer. But oh no, abortion is misspelled on your banner. I definitely should fix that.
you know,
Let's
like
see
homosexual
if
people.
can do
I
that.
hope no one would have a problem with it.
Yeah,
We
I
should be
don't.
kind to each other. I'm incredibly kind to everyone, and I just think we all need to grow up and be a lot less sensitive about jokes.
Okay. Well, I just think there's a line that you shouldn't cross.
I'm
That's
gonna
all.
read
Electric
this
Dad
in the
on-
meantime.
on,
Brian Shapiro's
Super Chat
callers
says,
were all rude
"What-
and racist towards Miguel. They all sound drunk and on crack.
It is well. In fairness, I'm not sure how much of a testament that is to him because his radio show's in Vegas. So if you just pick 10 random people, they're probably going to be high end on crack. So I don't know how much of that's Brian's fault.
What does Miguel's parents do for work, and how much is he worth? Guaranteed they wouldn't be touched by the Harris tax plan. You don't have to answer that if you don't want to, but you go to Cal Berkeley, so I would assume, and it might be a wrong assumption, that your family is well off. I don't know.
No. So Brian thinks my family is rich because I'm Republican and I attend Berkeley, which all right, man. Like I guess we've entered the classism and escaped from the racism. So I guess it's maybe it's a little bit better, but I don't know.
Do you want to tell the chicken story?
The chicken story. What's the? Oh, I think I mentioned that here. I think I mentioned that here in the video.
The wrong
Okay,
assumption
perfect.
that your family is well off. I don't know.
No, you well, they are now. You know, my dad is a manager of an auto parts store and my mother is a cleaner. Both my parents are from Mexico.
Okay.
And I want to say, you know, I am very libertarian on immigration for the most part. I don't believe in open borders, but that has nothing to do with my upbringing, and it has everything to do with just how economics works.
Okay.
And so my parents are not well off. My parents are both. My dad is incredibly liberal. You actually remind me of my dad, Brian. You're like a more tuned up, aggressive version of my father, kind of. But
I don't know if that's a compliment. All right.
I since then I regret saying that. My dad has never sent me unsolicited nudes, thank God. But yeah, I definitely can't extend the kindness of saying he reminds me of my dad after that.
Let's go to Donna.
No, I love my father. It is a huge compliment.
Okay, thank you. All right, I wasn't sure. Let's go to Donna. Donna's calling out of Massachusetts, wants to talk to Miguel. What's up, Donna?
All right, looks like I didn't mention it. So another time, maybe it was talking to Brian or someone. they were trying to say that I was wealthy and privileged, and I was like, dude, I have my first, I should say, real job because I've had a bunch of like minimum wage jobs or whatever. But you know, before that, I was like, dude, the clutch struggle meal. I'd go to Costco. I'd get 3 rotisserie chickens and some tortillas and some cheese. Dude, you're eating good for like 3 days off of that. And so once you eat all of that, then you still have the chicken carcass. And so what you do is you boil the chicken carcass and you get chicken stock. And so then you buy noodles, which are basically free. And then you boil them in the chicken stock. And then you're eating good for like another day and a half. So that's the story JP wanted me to give about my struggle meal. So if anyone's broken in college, yeah, definitely the Costco membership will pay for itself. Just you got a rotisserie chicken max.
Well,
Yeah, go
how
ahead.
are you?
Good. Go ahead.
I'm doing
Donna.
great. Nice to hear your voice, Donna.
You know, if you ever heard that saying that you're book smart,
Yeah, and not street smart. Yeah, I've heard that one.
you heard that one. And you know, you're only 21. And let's just hope that life doesn't hit you right in the butt someday. You know how to read a book, but life is nothing like that, believe me.
Yeah, do you mind? Can I say something here, Donna?
Yeah.
I'm not somebody who grew up affluent. I'm not somebody who went to university affluent. You know, like financial aid, which funny enough, I don't think should exist, but that's a separate point. Covers my tuition, and I do take advantage of that. but I pay my own rent. I work. I worked a part-time job, like 20 hours a week. I run a state org, and I volunteer for my club, and I'm a full-time student. And I look, I put belt to ass. I did work. I just got my first, like, I'd say real job, like long-term job that pays well enough for me to support myself without scraping by. But I know what it's like to go to Costco, get a $5 rotisserie chicken. This is what I would do. I'd get 3 chickens, eat them throughout the week, boil the carcasses.
This is great advice.
Noodles, and then, dude, that's like a week of food for $15. It's like ridiculous how far you can make money go. And the thing is, throughout this all, when I have qualified for SNAP before, and when I got SNAP, what happened wasn't, oh, I was starving and now I'm eating food. What happened is I started buying luxury cuts of meat. I started buying things that I didn't need. And, I'm going to exploit it because I'm going to eventually pay for it with the inflation of my tax dollars.
That's not what food stamps were meant to. They were meant to.
But it's what they do. The majority of people, a disproportionate number of people on food stamps now are obese, or morbidly obese. At every percent. Dude, if you see somebody at a grocery store, so I live in Berkeley, which is right by Oakland. So, like 3/4 of the people paying who are locals are using food stamps. If the best way to predict if somebody's going to use food stamps, just note like how overweight they are, and if they look like country white or if they look city white. If you just control for that, you'll probably find a Snap user 90% of the time, because almost everyone on Snap is super overweight. It's actually comical. And I have a bunch of friends who are also on Snap, and what they would do every month is we'd be like, all right, guys, time to hit up Target and Grocery Outlet. We're buying a ton of candy, because that's what you do with Snap. That's why the Democrats were so mad when the Republicans tried cutting Coca-Cola from Snap benefits. It's like, yeah, maybe you shouldn't be able to buy soda with Snap, or diet soda, like a 0-calorie drink. I'm supposed to believe these people are just, Snap's not enough money. They're scraping by. They're all starving to death, but they can buy They can buy like a Coke Zero, which has literally no nutritional value in it. And that's fine, but they're really struggling, guys.
It's really funny whenever I see, usually, I'm not saying that people don't actually struggle in life, but a lot of the times people will like to blame the world for their problems and make vague allusions to life being hard. And then you have actual cases where people are not raised the wealthiest and they actually work hard and they make the best of their own life and they put themselves in good positions, and they just don't think that that's valid somehow.
Yeah, 100%.
Stamps away from people. 2/3 of the country have comorbidities. That doesn't necessarily mean that we take away food stamps. Let's go to Darlene. She's known as the MAGA destroyer on this show. Darlene Kahn from Oklahoma. Darlene, what's up? You're on with Miguel.
Hey, Brian. Hey, Miguel. Get that fucking smirk off of your face. You are a complete, laugh all you want, you little idiot. Let me ask you a question, since you know so much. Where is our health plan, Miguel? Where's the concept of a health plan?
I'm sorry.
You know what you're talking about, because you're an idiot.
Darlene, you sound like such a pleasant person. I wish I could meet you in person. But guys, is Brian mushroom gobbling over here? Is that what's happening?
No, what you're talking about, because you're an idiot.
Darlene, you sound like such a pleasant person. I wish I could meet you in person. But
you wouldn't want to meet me in person, buddy. Okay, come to Oklahoma and I'll meet you. And because not everybody in Oklahoma loves Trump. Yeah, you are an idiot. My best advice to you is to start listening to Brian, Adam Mockler.
Oh my, Darlene, I'm trying. I swear you told me to wipe the smirk off my face, and I'm trying my hardest not to laugh. Like.
And another thing,
I'm laughing.
I'd be very scared if I was you, because ICE is coming to get you.
I feel like Speed. I feel like Speed trying to lock in.
They will come and get your mama. They will come and get your dad. And as far as Social Security goes, I totally agree with Jason. You don't know nothing about Social Security. Your butt wasn't working out at 12 years old back in the day, and we've been paying in all this time, and then you're going to act like, let's just trash our own damn money?
Darlene, I'm pressed for
you.
Tell him, Darlene. And then someone in the chat says, "Tell him, Darlene." Yes, tell me. Yes.
I don't know. If I was Brian Shapiro in this situation, I would honestly be so embarrassed. I wouldn't be laughing the way he is right now. If I had a fan base that was doing that, I would genuinely, as serious as possible. I'd be like, "This is not how we're supposed to act. I don't know why you're behaving this way. This is not intellectual." I would be so upset at them. I would genuinely be upset at my fan for doing that. I do not want a fan base that's like that. But everyone on the left, that's how they all are really. If you just look at the comment sections of any ordinary video made by a left wing influencer, and it's very telling when Brian Shapiro laughs at it because of course he thinks it's funny. He doesn't really think that there's anything like serious about it. And furthermore, like this is just all that they do is just spew hate. Like I know this is kind of off topic, but when Micah was debating Parker on Jubilee, Michael Kunkel, I think. And
Here,
he
I
was
can
saying,
hear you.
your
I'll be right back.
question-
I'm going to get some water. Keep going, JP.
Got it. So he was saying, so Parker basically asked him a question that was just aimed to make him look bad. He's like, you're just trying to make us look bad. But that's that's all that the left does now is they just ask questions that are leading, and they'll just try to bring up topics that are really non-consequential when you look at policy. And they just want to make you appear to be an evil right-winger. And that's all they've done during the campaigns, in 2016, 2020, 2024, is just Donald Trump is a bad person. Donald Trump is evil. And I really don't remember Kamala Harris talking about our policies all that much during the 2024 campaign. And the majority of it was 100% that Donald Trump is a threat to democracy. And there's Donald Trump's Project 2025. We cannot forget about these things that they have just indexed onto us with no evidence at all, and just are continuously trying to steer the conversation away from policy that will affect your lives and to things that are just going to make you look bad.
Yeah, no, literally, man. I mean, in all fairness to the Democrats, I don't know how much better I can say Trump is than Kamala in attacking policy and substantive things. But I think the difference is the left wants to pretend that Kamala is doing that. You know what I mean? We're the right. We're like, yeah, Trump's kind of like a rude, sometimes an idiot, but that's who he is, right? But he has good policy, and he usually works out for the best, and he's better than Kamala. Where the left is like, Trump is the worst, and he's like the most terrible person in history. And so to me, that's the meaningful distinction, is that at least we're not pretending Trump is something that he's not, where they do try to do that. Yes, tell me, Darlene. Okay, so a few things.
Like
so
1 minute. 1 minute, Miguel.
Yeah, 1 minute. Okay, so I guess I just want to address the Social Security point. People seem to not understand how Social Security works. It's not you put in money and then you get it back when you're old. That's what Trump's plan would do, and the Republicans, what they want to do would do. It would be you put in money, it goes in the stock market, grows, and then you get it when you retire. The way that Social Security works in its current form is it's literally a pyramid scheme. They take it from the people who are at the bottom and they give it to the people at the top. And the problem... Yeah, I hate to cut off this brilliant man giving his explanation of Social Security, but the Carnal Gecko, or the canine gecko, points out Brian Shapiro allows his callers to attack Miguel with racial slurs and stereotypes. And that's so true. Like, the second I say, it's mainly fake and gay, Brian's like, what? How could you possibly ever consider saying that? His viewers call, they're like, you're going to get deported, boy. That's what happens to little beans like you. And Brian's like, yeah, I'm laughing too. Like, he lets us know, I'm laughing too, guys, by the way. I think it's really funny. Problem is the average retirement age, the retirement age hasn't changed. The average lifespan was 65-ish, and the retirement age is 65. Most people would never see their benefits. Yeah, real quick, anyone watching right now, make sure to drop a subscribe for myself and John Paul here. His channel's in the chat right now. Now, the average lifespan is in the high 70s. You should make me a moderator. So significant. Yes, I should. More people are seeing it. Population's not growing, so it's heavily unsustainable. We see this in every country like Japan. Where there's going to be a collapse and it's just a matter of time. Social Security is a system that cannot be saved. The question is, when will it collapse? And will it collapse with the end of our country? Will it lead to the fall of the entire union? Or will it end because we kill it? Those are the questions. It's a pyramid scheme. It's a scam. And I'm so sorry that you've been lied to your entire life, that you think it's going to be your savior for retirement. Guys, if anyone here takes anything away from tonight, Social Security needs to be killed. That is probably top 3 most pressing issues of our country.
I don't think she's been lied to. I think.
Yeah. Let's just kill it before it kills us.
When you pay into a system, we're short on time here, but when you pay into a system your whole life and you work, I think you certainly deserve to be taken care of at a certain age.
I agree. Yeah. And it sucks, but it's just the reality of the situation is we have to.
Well, I think there are ways in the richest country in the world that we can take care of people. But Miguel,
it's just math. It's not possible. But yeah, thank you so much, Brian. Thank you for having me.
I was just going to say, I appreciate you sticking around and taking the abuse. I had a feeling.
Absolute blast, by the way. That was so fun. Invite me on whenever.
All right. Well, hey,
Get Darlene back on the phone. I need a conversation. Just get me and her. Just do a video call with me and Darlene. We'll talk for a full hour.
I almost feel like we should do just like phone calls with you instead of me getting involved, because I actually enjoyed just sitting back and I enjoyed it. So maybe we'll do that next time. But no, in all seriousness, awesome. Miguel, I do appreciate you coming on. You were very kind to us when we were there, at least to me. You were kind to me at Cal Berkeley, and it was a lot of fun. By the way, I had some other debates with him. It's up on my YouTube page, so you can watch those. And Miguel, I do appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much.
All right. God bless you, and God bless everyone listening. Christ loves you, and just have a great rest of your day, everyone. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Christ loves me. I'm not sure if Christ loves Donald Trump, though. But
oh, not the heresy. No. Christ loves everyone, guys, especially Brian Shapiro. All right. I have another clip in this debate that I'd like to look at. If you don't have anything to say, John Paul.
Nope. Just Mrs. D, send me the Discord. I am interested in joining that.
Yes. That timeline, they developed enough.
Developing. I wonder if I can make polls or something. I'm not entirely sure how to be a moderator.
There's definitely a way to do a poll, but we'll have to figure that out another day. I don't know when they developed the capabilities. I know American. We knew that they were violating the JCPOA after. Okay, so the debate that Brian and I are having here is he keeps saying that Donald Trump says we obliterated their nuclear capabilities. And I keep saying we did obliterate their nuclear capabilities, their ability to enrich uranium, but we did not destroy the uranium itself. So Trump is not lying. The admin's not lying. They were never lying. We just are not sure. So that's just the context for this clip we're going to be watching here. A year after we left it. So that's when we know they started their development. I don't know the exact timeline.
You don't know the timeline of when they're claiming that of this uranium. You have no idea, but yet you're telling me.
No, I do. I'm telling you right now. I don't know the exact date. What I'm telling you is a year after we exited the JCPOA, Iran started enriching uranium above the 3.2% threshold. Okay. And somewhere in that timeline, they developed enough
all right, so Donald Trump was apparently lying when he said we obliterated their entire nuclear capabilities.
No, Brian, and I think you actually heard me very well when I said that was a misrepresentation. We obliterated their nuclear capabilities, their ability to produce more uranium, but the uranium's still buried underground, and they're trying to excavate it, and that's what.
Okay, so they were just misrepresenting. That's another word for saying lying. Pete said.
No. Trump was not misrepresenting. You're misrepresenting.
Okay.
And so you guys need to know. What I'm showing you now is 2 minutes into our conversation. So I keep saying, Brian, you're misrepresenting that quote. And he's like, oh, I'm just reading it. And I'm like, no, you're misrepresenting it. You're reading it correctly, but you're misrepresenting it. And he just keeps saying, oh, guess Trump lied. And I'm like, no, Brian, no, listen to me.
Okay, I'm taking the exact quote that he said 8 times. Okay.
No. And I'm agreeing with the quote. I'm just saying that you are misrepresenting that quotation. I'm not saying you're misrepresenting the quote that he's saying, and you're reading it. You are reading it. Okay, you're reading it word for word. I agree with you on that. Your interpretation of it is incredibly misleading.
I'm just giving them the quote. How am I misrepresenting?
No. The quote is great, Brian. You found the quote. You did a great job. The explanation of the quote you're giving is very misleading, and I don't think you're lying. I think you've been misled by left.
Okay, so he said something, but I'm misrepresenting it because he meant something else. I hear that with Trump supporters all the time.
No. Yeah. He said. Read the quote. Read the quote, Brian.
This is, by the way, Pete Hegseth as well. They said this multiple times.
Yes.
We, quote, obliterated their nuclear capabilities.
Yes. So their ability to enrich uranium, and like we talked about earlier, we talked about earlier the danger of vagueness, right? We destroyed their nuclear capabilities. They don't have the capability to create any nuclear materials.
All right.
That's true.
Mikkel, I'm just reading you the exact quote.
No, I know. And so he keeps actually not reading the exact quote. He reads the quote and then he goes, Trump lied, and because they said that they have nuclear material, so Trump lied. And it's just like so circular. We just keep going in circles because he's refusing to listen to anything that I say. I'm explaining to you.
I've seen this a lot, especially from Shapiro and a lot of other people on the left. Is they will just like purposely misinterpret something, and it's so funny because nuclear capabilities means that you have the capability to produce nuclear weapons or to enrich uranium or something along those lines. When you don't have any facilities, you don't have any capabilities to do so. You just have the remnants of whatever lasted after, a few years of operating or whatever.
Yeah, no, certainly. And I actually can't tell if he's purposely misunderstanding or if he's just not capable of understanding what I'm saying. They don't have the capability. And so the only time in this debate that I think I really got frustrated and like resorted to just calling out someone for being dumb was this point right here. To produce any nuclear material. That is factual. You would agree, right?
Well, listen.
No, come on. Let's answer the question. I've been answering all your questions. Let's answer it.
You have, but you're saying I'm misrepresenting, and I take issue with that when I'm reading his actual quotes.
No. I like I said, the quote. Brian, when you read the quote, you are doing a great job reading the quote. You have a phenomenal reading level. If you were in a 5th grade classroom, you'd be the envy of the world. But what I'm saying is that your interpretation of the quote is misleading, to say the very least.
Well,
and I don't think it's intentional. I think you've been lied to by left-wing media. So what I'm trying to make incredibly clear, I asked you a question, and we so I kind of lost my patience there, and I compared him to a 5th grader. Definitely not my highest moment, but I thought it was, dude, honestly, when I'm debating, I kind of like, I don't know if you get the same way, John Paul. I think that if debate were a drug, I'd actually get addicted to it. It is so fun. Like, when I'm debating, I just get this hyper focus, and then the rest of the day I'm groggy. Like, I can't even think. It's like I was like high on meth, and then it wore off, and I'm just like out of it. And just talking in circles was just so frustrating. And he kept, oh, I'm just reading the quote. I'm just reading it. I'm just reading it, after not just reading it, and just finally breaking and being like, oh my God, Brian, like, I know you can read. I'm not fucking dumb. I'm saying that you're not understanding what it means. And then at this point, it seems like he understands and moves on. We've moved away. Oh.
Yeah, debate's fun. We should get callers to debate us, but
yeah, no, we just need more left-winger, I guess, Republicans who don't agree with the prompts. Or if any Republicans want to talk about anything else, I'd love to do it. You would agree their capability of creating nuclear materials has been destroyed with all the evidence that's available to the United States.
Hold on a second. You said I've been lied to by left-wing media. Is that what you just said? What was the lie? What is the lie?
Yes, the lie is that quote means that they have absolutely no fissile material within their borders.
Gotcha. Okay.
Which is not what that means. But again, the next question. You would agree that with all available evidence, we have destroyed their capacity to create nuclear material.
Was Tulsi Gabbard also...
I'm sorry, we can get to your question. I've been asking this one for like the past 5 minutes, and I'd like to get to it.
Okay, and then I'll ask
you would agree. Yeah, we'll take your Tulsi Gabbard question. Yeah. So you would agree that the ability, the asking a question to Brian is like, I can't even think of an analogy here. It's like trying to get a kid to listen to you when they're at the pool. Like, hey, can I ask the question? And they're like swimming and splashing everywhere. Hey there, what do you want for lunch? What do you want for lunch? What do you want to eat? And Brian's just like, yay, I like my floaties. Like, he's just always on something else, not wanting to answer the question. And it just gets so frustrating. Nuclear capability, or we could even say their capability of producing any new nuclear material has been destroyed since the Fordo strikes. Both John Paul and I would love to be introduced to some pro-debate or debate content creators. That'd be awesome.
I don't know that for sure. How would I know that for sure?
Well, I'm saying with the current intelligence that is available to the United States, to Israel, to the to all international agencies, the intelligence.
First of all, I'm not listening to any intelligence put forth by Israel. They're part of the reason why we got into not only this war, but the war in Iraq. Also, if you're talking about the intelligence of the United States of America,
didn't Israel not want us to get involved in Iraq? Is that true? It's something like that.
100%.
Yeah.
It was due to mostly. Yeah, it was due to mostly British intelligence that wanted us to get involved in Iraq. And in fact, Israel at the time was like, no, don't do it. Iran is the main, enemy of this. Like, Iraq is not the main problem. And then we did it anyways. And then once we said, no, we're going to do it, Israel said, okay, we don't agree with the decision, but as your ally, we will support you.
Dude, shout out to Benjamin, dude. Oh my gosh.
Donald Trump doesn't even read the briefings, and they're not. Do you understand that our own intelligence, they're not even briefing members of Congress? Do you understand that they didn't even tell Congress?
Yes, I do, because somebody definitely would have whistleblown. But regardless, that's still aside the point of the question. The very specific question I'm asking.
I don't know the answer to it. Neither the members of Congress. They don't know the answer to it either.
So you're just saying you have no idea. So you're saying you don't know if the quote was false, but you're over here saying that they either lied or they're wrong right now. And
I didn't.
Yeah. So just to simplify that, he's saying that Trump lied in his quote about destroying the nuclear capabilities, while also saying he has no idea if they destroyed the nuclear capabilities. And he's like, Congress doesn't even know. It's like, okay, so you don't know. Like what are you arguing about here, Brian? The way that he just switches up so quickly, because I feel like when a lot of people talk about something, you'll have a mental map of what you're talking about. And that just doesn't exist in Brian's head, or a lot of left wingers' heads. I think they just have facts memorized, and they just kind of exist in this cloud instead of being in a web where they're all connected to each other. And so the left winger will come. Well, what was unemployment under Joe Biden? 3.8%. What is it under Trump? 4.4. And like, I can play these games too. I also have a good number of these numbers memorized, but it's just not productive at all. Like let's talk about some causal chains of events. And I find it very frustrating, because it's how people who are really, really not very smart and not good at debate can win against people who just don't know a few numbers, because the numbers themselves don't actually matter all that much. Once you have the principles, those are the important things, not the numbers.
Yeah, it's very easy to memorize numbers, as you mentioned, and so it's much more important to actually understand the context around the numbers, and that's something that they don't often do. They don't often think what led to this, what are the outside conditions that may be playing into this. They just say, "Oh, look, this is a number. Unemployment is higher than it is under Joe Biden, so Donald Trump's doing something bad. It's trending in the wrong direction." Have you ever looked up natural rate of unemployment? It's like, no, I'm just gonna pretend like I didn't hear that. And then
Do you know
Brian
what the
Shapiro
labor
and all
force
these other guys
participation
just
rate
like,
is? No, well, I'm not exactly sure. Did it go up or down? Well, I don't know. And it's like, okay, so you don't actually know what the unemployment number even means. Like, you think you know, but you don't know all that well. Oh, inflation was low under Joe Biden. Oh, what was the interest rate at the beginning of his term versus the end of his term? Oh, well, I don't really know the answer to that one. It's like, well, you should know that. If you're going to say, well, Biden's good because inflation was low, you need to know what Federal Reserve policy is. You cannot have an opinion on inflation under Joe Biden without knowing what Federal Reserve policy does. That's like being pro-life and not knowing what a baby is. Like it doesn't, or being pro-choice and not knowing what a baby is. It just doesn't make any sense.
Tell you that the quote was false. I told you just what was out of Donald Trump's words.
No. See, I'm not criticizing the quote. I'm criticizing your interpretation. So you're saying that
we obliterated their nuclear capabilities. Does that?
Yeah. Oh my God, guys, he knows how to read. Good. Yes, they have.
Does that mean
they have no? They have literally no capabilities of producing nuclear material. That is a factual statement. With all current intelligence that's available, they have no capability of producing nuclear material. That is a factual statement with all the information that's available. So,
pushing the limit.
Given that, it was not a lie.
On KSHP.
Sorry, we're doing a quick legal ID here since it is the top of the hour and we do a radio show, Miguel. So go ahead, continue.
Yeah, no. There's all the evidence in the world that we destroyed their nuclear capabilities, their capability of producing nuclear material. Now, even though we've destroyed their capability of producing nuclear material, there is still some uranium buried underground in the Fordo facilities, which, mind you, how many nuclear... Wait, guys, he did say that he would answer my question, and he didn't, right? The one about are they or are they not having nuclear capabilities? He refused to answer that, so we can mark that box as well. Power plants are built like half a kilometer underground. Is that normal?
I'm not saying it's normal, and I'm not making the argument that they might or might not have nuclear capabilities. The point I'm trying to make, Miguel, in this whole conversation is the inconsistencies from the White House. We were told that this was about regime change. Then we were told it was about their nuclear capabilities. Was Tulsi Gabbard, as you said, was she lied to by left-wing media when she testified?
Tulsi Gabbard, as far as I'm aware, is on thin ice with the admin, is the impression
that wasn't my question. I don't care whether she's on thin ice or not. Under oath 9 months ago.
Yeah, no, I think Tulsi Gabbard's an incredibly ideological person, and I don't necessarily trust. I don't trust the thing she says. I don't. Oh, you know what? Straw man definitely did happen when he kept saying when he kept rereading his quote. That was definitely a straw man. Good call out in chat. Whataboutism? Have you noticed any whataboutism yet? He definitely has said what about. There's no way he hasn't.
Yeah, but like, is that technically whataboutism? What are we defining as whataboutism specifically?
It would be if I say, oh well, actually, this in itself is I guess this wouldn't be, but it'd be like if I say, oh well, there's no nuclear capabilities, and he goes, what about this? And it's something that's just completely unrelated. Like, oh, what about Trump's a sexual abuser? Like things like that.
He does it a lot. I don't know if he's done it specifically in this one yet.
But first, yeah, okay. So we'll keep going. I think she
So you
lied.
trust the
I
things
think that people,
We're
I
almost
think
out of
people view
bingo,
the
though.
world through a lens of ideology, and she was
Yes.
misled by
Tulsi
her.
Gabbard said under oath, based on our own intelligence that you seem to want to cite now, even though they won't share the intelligence with Congress. But somehow 9 months ago, in Donald Trump's administration, Tulsi Gabbard under oath on Capitol
I
Hill.
also want to say,
won't-
do you think the
won't go with
top
that.
secret military strike should be shown to the entirety of Congress?
I never said that. Here's what
I'm
did.
asking because you're saying they didn't debrief Congress. I'm saying
If
that
you're
if
going
they
to-
debriefed Congress, Iran
If
would have
you're-
found out about the strikes.
I love the idea that like Trump needs to go tell Congress, guys, we're going to launch a top secret military campaign. And I'm supposed to believe for a single second that AOC is not going to just tweet out, guys, Trump is about to launch an illegal attack on Iran. Like the second it gets press briefed, and we're just supposed to blow the entire operation. Like I'm supposed to believe that Rashida Tlaib and such wouldn't tweet out, guys, Trump is about to kidnap President Maduro in an illegal raid in Venezuela. like, sure, I trust them. I don't trust them. And Trump was 100% right to not give them a heads up that he was going to invade.
Yeah, they just think it works in a way that it just like really does not work. Like that's just not how it works. No one has ever done it like that before.
Yeah, it's ridiculous, and it's so one-sided as well because we have terrorist sympathizers in Congress right now. Rashida Tlaib, AOC, Bernie, like we have people in Congress.
They found out about the strike.
Personal insult should include when he approves of guests insulting / attacking. I actually kind of agree with that.
Do we agree? Okay, then he definitely got personal attack when they were being racist towards me and generally hateful. Let's see. I think that's all for now.
Facility, and then in that same day, Donald Trump and his administration said we obliterated them, and it was a great mission. When there were trucks 2 days before the strikes, obviously somebody told them. Now, to answer your question about what we should tell Congress, it is the duty of the President of the United States, just like George W. Bush did many years ago in an ill-advised war, to go.
This is such a good clip for me. I need to post this on my Instagram actually.
Through Congress first before you decide to go to war. Now we're 60 days into it.
So I want to say, when's the last time a president declared war? When was the last time that happened?
George W. Bush.
When was the last time Congress declared war?
Congress doesn't declare war. Congress gives the president the okay, the red light.
So Brian doesn't know intro gov. Like Congress doesn't declare war. Let's see if we look up United States Constitution and we just boop. Maybe we'll add full text or PDF. Yes. And we just go to it and we look up declare war. Section 8, the Congress shall have the power to collect taxes, duties, impose fees, to declare war, grant letters and reprisal, and make concerning captures of land and water. So he says right here on the interview, because he thinks that I'm going to hit him with a gotcha, right? He knows that I know more than him about literally every single one of these issues. So when I say, oh, Congress has the ability to declare war, he thinks I'm going to say, no, the president has the ability to declare war. But that's not the argument I'm going to make, because that wouldn't be true. So he says, the last time that happened.
George W. Bush.
When was the last time Congress declared war?
Congress doesn't declare war. Congress gives the president the okay.
Congress doesn't declare war. To declare war, the Congress shall have the power to pay, collect taxes, to declare war, grant letters, and such. So Congress is the only branch of government with the ability to declare war. Someone said Vietnam was the last time we declared war. No, actually,
the red light, for lack of a better term.
No, that's not how the Constitution's written.
So what did George W.
Congress declares war? So that's the Constitution.
Okay, so what happened in the war in Iraq? How did George W. Bush?
So do you know the answer? When's the last time that war was actually declared by the United States?
Well, the war in Iraq, George W. Bush. Okay, so you tell me then, did George W. Bush not
I want to
go
put
to
the
Congress
video
first?
up for the viewers.
Oh shoot, sorry guys. No, he spoke with Congress, but you're again. It's. I just want to be clear because I don't actually think you're too familiar with the constitutional mechanism. The last time the United States declared war was 19.
And he's laughing here. He's like, "Oh, I'm not familiar with the constitutional
mechanism." I don't actually think
mechanisms.
you're too familiar with the constitutional mechanism. The last time the United States declared war was 1942.
World War II. Did we declare war in World War II?
Okay,
Did you know that? Did you know that?
Please, that is irrelevant to what I'm asking.
No,
Yes,
it is. So
that was the last time we declared war, was in World War II, I believe. I didn't really listen to myself
I
just
think
now.
so.
Yeah, the last time we declared war was World War II. And Brian's like, why didn't Trump talk with Congress about declaring war like Bush did? And I'm like, oh yeah? Did Bush declare? Congress declared war on Iraq. And then Brian says, Congress can't declare war. It's like the fact that he gets it wrong, and then he knows that I'm about to say he got it wrong, so he tries correcting himself, but then he just corrects himself to something else that also isn't true. It's just so funny. Like, the LARP is real. This whole, oh, I've been doing this 25 years, I'm so good at this. It's actually just LARP. He doesn't know anything. What I'm saying is that
You're okay with the president of the United States going to war without even conferring with Congress at all. You're totally okay with that?
no, I think I'm not saying that I'm okay with it. I'm actually incredibly libertarian, and I would see maybe some goodness in making the declaration of war, putting that back in the hands of Congress. But the truth is that just hasn't been the case for nearly 100 years.
Okay, but George W. Bush went to Congress first. I'm asking, so you disagree?
But he did not follow the constitutional mechanisms to
Okay,
declare war. So he went and said some things to. Yes, he said some things to Congress, but that does not mean that Congress declared war. I also want to be clear: the attacks on Fordo were constitutional. So I want to say to the person in chat, they said even Iraq, Iran, Afghanistan wasn't officially declared war. They need to change that process because I don't know anybody that would claim that that wasn't a war. So it's actually really interesting, the constitutional history. They wrote, or when they were writing that part of the Constitution, there was conversations about whether it should be the president has the ability to declare war or the president has the ability to make war. And they decided that the ability to make war was too much power for Congress because the president needs to be able to respond to emergent threats. And so they purposely didn't say that the president has the ability, or the power to make war still sits in the president's hands, but the power to declare war is in Congress's. So what that means is really weird. Like, okay, so the president can do acts of war, but he can't declare war, so he can just do acts of war without declaring war. I honestly think the founders just didn't think that part through too much. I think it's a rare, enormous lapse in judgment from them. So this has to do with I'm a political scientist. So let me drop some facts here.
Miguel, that's fine, but there was a vote. Okay, the point that I was trying to make is we're now over 60 days into this war, and Donald Trump said today that he believes it's unconstitutional what Congress is asking for. Do you believe it's unconstitutional?
I think that at the very least, it's unconstitutional in the way that it's been practiced for the last 100 years.
Okay, but that's not what I ask you. Right now, we can change the laws, but they're not changed right now. Do you?
Well, no, the law right now. Okay, so if we're not talking about constitutionality and we're talking about the law, everything that Donald Trump has done in attacking is well within the law. I think the president of the United States is allowed to do special military operations, and if Congress wants to cancel them out, I think the president has 90 days before they have the ability to do that. But Congress would still have to call in a vote to actually do that. So this is still well within the law of how it's.
Can you just imagine poor Brian Shapiro sitting right here across from me on this screen, and he's saying these things, and I'm telling him about the oh, well, the law is there's 9 months and then they can vote to cancel it down, but unless they don't vote, the president can still do whatever. And he has absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. He's never heard any of these arguments before because he's never left his corner bubble of the internet. He's never actually been forced to confront anything that he believes by anyone outside of a debate. I can just imagine if I had this much of a knowledge gap with someone in a debate, I'd be so anxious sitting down across from them. I would immediately be like, guys, this isn't really a debate. This is a conversation between peers. That's the type of method I would be pulling if it was this uneven in a debate. But the fact that he's still trying to be like, oh, well, why isn't Trump declaring war? Or why isn't Congress declaring war? Oh, well, Congress doesn't have the ability to declare war. Like he's still just trying to pretend like he knows anything about what we're talking about instead of just giving up. It must just be miserable existence.
Yeah, this entire debate is just you constantly hitting him with facts and making arguments, and then him either misunderstanding it, deflecting to something else, or just being disingenuous. It's so incredible, like you said, the level of knowledge gapping that is going on. It's literally just you pummeling him for 2 hours nonstop. And this guy, he still posts it on his own channel because he knows his audience is just going to eat it up. Because in reality, they don't really care about what it is that you're saying. they just like the way that Brian Shapiro sounds angry and is trying to like, talk as though like MAGA is evil and retarded.
Yeah, no, 100%. And so it's just really funny. Like I could not find it more. And he even has an easy cop out. He can be like, "Hey guys, Miguel is a political science major at like the number I think it was when I was admitted it was #1 political science program in the country." And he could just be like, "Yeah, he knows some stuff about political science. He's wrong about a lot of stuff, but we can learn a little bit." But instead of doing that, he just tries to act like, "Oh, there's no way that a Trump guy could ever know more than I do about anything, about literally anything. Oh, those Trump accounts, that's never going to happen." It did happen, Brian. Oh, well, you don't know. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't get it. You're too, or as his viewers say when they call in, "You're only 21 years old. You don't know nothing, kiddo." And it's like, oh my God. I'm arguing with these people. Both my parents are immigrants from Mexico, and I speak better English than they do. And they're lecturing me because I'm younger than them. Actually humiliating.
Hold on.
Been written. You
Asking
can argue
for hundreds of billions of dollars, trillions of dollars probably, because I would imagine this war is not ending anytime soon.
Someone said Brian Shapiro will use your American CP3 says Brian Shapiro will use your facts when he debates in the future. I don't think he will. I don't think that he's like smart enough to actually understand what most of the things mean because they're coming at him so quickly. And I don't think that he understands the like I explained all the nuances here with the ability to make war versus declare war, and like these nuances. I don't actually think he picks up on them. I think that he is in a mode right now where the second I say something he doesn't know, he immediately has to start thinking, not like, "Oh, I need to memorize this." He has to start thinking, "How do I deflect? How do I reorient? How do I move on to the next talking point?" I could not imagine repositioning and doing what he's doing while also like memorizing facts. What do you think, JP?
Yeah, no, 100%. That's basically what Brian Shapiro does. Um, he's not really in the mindset to want to listen and to understand the conservative talking points. He's just trying to develop a system that is really like a brain dead system. Anyone can use this. All Brian Shapiro does is, I remember when he came to our Turning Point meeting and he just said, I want to talk about morality and how Donald Trump is immoral. And that's all that he does because he'll just say, "What did you think about the 34 felony counts? What do you think about the fact that he was held civilly liable of sexual assault? What do you think about the fact that he said this on the Howard Stern show? What do you think about the fact that he tweeted this?" And it's about all these things that like, yeah, we can have a discussion about that, sure, but it's not actually going to have anything to do with the policy that's going to affect your lives. And he just tries to do the system, and he doesn't really try to actually do the work to learn more about it, learn about the government. Like you said, this is literally intro level high school government class information that he's just like not understanding. And, who knows, maybe he'll look back at the debate and think, okay, this is what the conservative kids are using now. I should be prepared against this. Maybe he will. Who knows? But I just kind of doubt the fact that he's, processing it in real time.
Yeah, I don't think you watched this part of my conversation with him. He said to me like, "You don't think I know? I've been doing this 25 years." And, thinking about that, he's been doing this longer than we've been alive. If he was ever going to learn, it would have happened already. But somebody in chat said, "I hate to break it to you guys." They say, "Some viewers interpreted Brian's UC Berkeley debates as an attempt to improve his public standing after doing badly in earlier debates with Andrew Wilson and his wife." When he debated Andrew Wilson's wife, that was actually after he attended UC Berkeley. So maybe it was to recover from Andrew, but yeah, that
Was
the
that after he
timeline
told
doesn't-
us?
Yeah, it was after. It was actually a few days because
Okay.
he told me about it before I went on his show.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
And also his
And
Kai
Mrs.
Schwimmer
D
debate
says,
probably. He got cooked there as well.
yeah. Mrs. D says he has been crushed on all of those talking points 20 times already. He never learns. Yeah, you know what? That's a good point. I've actually never seen like a debate where I can say Brian Shapiro won. like I'm just being completely honest. I've never seen him win or do well in a debate. Like one of the easiest things for Brian Shapiro to do is to lose a debate.
Yeah, no, I was actually thinking about this because Brian likes to brag about all the people he's debated, and I kind of think too, like, I'd also want to want to get into debate with you because that's like free exposure. Because for some reason, people watch your stuff, and also I don't have to prepare for the debate. This debate, I'm not even kidding. I debated him at Berkeley. I immediately recognized this is just somebody who they could prepare for like weeks to debate me, and they wouldn't stand a chance. And so the night before, I was playing Minecraft with my friend Bennett. And I'm like, hey, I have this big debate tomorrow. I'm really excited for it. And he asked me if I was prepping. I was like, no, it's Brian Shapiro. I don't need to prep. This is going to be like the easiest debate I've had in my life. I'm a student at Berkeley. Like some kids at Berkeley, don't get me wrong, super overrated. It's not actually that impressive of a school, but like 1 in 30 kids just isn't retarded. And so I just by those 1 in 30 kids, I have infinitely more experience than Brian does debating the people on his show, because those students are a lot smarter than Brian. All right, back to the video.
Someone says,
oh,
so I was going to read this chat real quick. It says the morality talking point is something he got from Andrew Wilson. Not saying he will is faxes correctly. So
that makes sense.
You're correct. And then K9 Gecko says you're correct. It was after the Andrew Wilson debate.
Yeah, the timelines add up. And also after the Kai Schwimmer debate. I don't know if you guys saw, but I asked Brian Shapiro, what did you have for breakfast this morning? Because he was refusing to answer my hypotheticals. And he freaked out and called me an idiot.
Soon. Donald Trump said today that he believes it's unconstitutional what Congress is asking for. Do you know what Congress is asking for?
What are they asking for?
They're asking for actual evidence, number one, on why Iran was an imminent threat to the United States of America. They're also asking for specifics. Republicans as well, by the way. This isn't Democrat.
I'm sorry. Are the Democrats just like special needs? What does he mean? They need evidence for why Iran is a threat to the United States. They've killed over 1,000 Americans. That's like an accepted fact. I've literally never seen anyone argue otherwise ever. That's just a fact. Their terror proxies have killed over 1,000 Americans. And he's like, Congress just wants some evidence. Does Congress not know how to use Wikipedia? Like, I'm actually, you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if AOC didn't know how to use Wikipedia. But it's just like, what does he think that the White House is going to give them that's going to make them go, oh my God, oh, I didn't realize that Iran was bad. I didn't realize that the country, Obama couldn't even get them to stop bombing civilian centers. Obama and his GCPOA nuclear agreement with Iran, he couldn't even say, hey guys, stop funding terrorism all over the Middle East. They were like, no, that's a stretch too far. You've overstepped, Obama. That's too much. You're asking for too much right now. And it's like, okay, so I guess I don't see any point in explaining to Democrats at this point, at that level, everyday people, I 100% think we should try to convince them. But AOC is just, it's not that she's particularly stupid, even though she kind of is. It's just that they're blind. They don't want to see. People will see what they want to. And I think that just comes through here.
Yeah, it's very easy. If you actually were interested in learning what the evidence was, you would have been able to look it up. You would have actually listened to Donald Trump's speech when we struck Iran, because he cited multiple acts of aggression that Iran has taken onto the United States, including the fact that one of their first actions as a new regime was to take 444 Americans hostage.
Yeah.
They're asking for
Hello, Jorge.
the mission.
Hey, Jorge, welcome in chat.
What we've accomplished, what the goals are. The administration refuses to release details, even though there have been estimations from experts that it's costing us.
I have a response for that if I can jump in here. So this is very particular.
This is just the look of pain. I'd have the same look if
I
knew that I was about to, like, I'm about to hear something that I've never heard before and I'm not prepared for right now. Like you can tell he's thinking, what's the next thing I'm going to pivot to?
If I can jump in here. So
what am I going to next?
This is very particular, and I think the people who like to talk about this don't at all understand the history behind the making of our Constitution. And the Constitution is incredibly clear. It says Congress has the ability to declare war. And through documents that we have from that time, we actually know that the original writing of that was that Congress has the ability to make war. And there was a large debate over whether or not the wording should be make war or declare war. And the ultimate decision was that the executive needed to be able to make wartime decisions, special attacks, special operations.
Sorry, we've heard me yap about this already on this live stream. Someone's pointing out my haircut. Can you guys believe I got absolutely scammed? Sorry, I hate to cut you off, John Paul. This haircut, this average haircut right here. I spent $60 on this haircut. I got scammed. I got finessed. They actually robbed me. And then I felt bad because I also wanted to tip the guy because he was real nice. And I ended up paying, oh, that's not a very pleasant look of my face. I ended up paying like $100 for this haircut, this mid haircut. And so yeah, please don't say that. Someone's asking for a lullaby. I'm not sure how happy the chat would be if I started singing, but yeah, we'll just keep going.
Exactly like what's going on in Iran, without filling in everyone in Congress because of intelligence issues, and that put far too much power in the hand of Congress. It didn't allow for swift enough response by the executive.
So listen,
So
Miguel,
the language of the Constitution is declare war. The president has the ability to make war.
Yeah.
You know, it sounds like a small difference, but it actually really influences what the
So you're
president is able to do and not able to do.
So obviously, we're going to agree to disagree on this. I think this is an illegal war. It's an ill-advised war. But hold on,
what evidence is there that this is illegal? Where is this illegal?
So again, we've had like a 25-minute conversation on this.
Well, you still haven't cited where it's illegal. You just keep saying.
Well, I believe
what makes it illegal?
First of all,
what international statute?
I believe they've committed war crimes, and I believe that, for particular, the 175 school children there, that they haven't even taken responsibility for it. In fact,
unintentional civilian casualties are not war crimes.
Well, first of all, you have to take responsibility for it. Number one, which they haven't done. So forget about whether.
I love how Brian Shapiro thinks the laws of war say civilian bombing is absolutely illegal. Even if it's on accident, unless you say sorry after, then it's allowed. Like the fact that he's just saying this is an illegal war, this is an illegal war. Which part's illegal? He's like, I don't like it. Like that's what it boils down to. It's just such a ridiculous position for him to hold.
You can say it's immoral. You can say it's
number one, which they have
apologize. That does not make it a war crime.
Okay,
correct?
Well, I think.
So what war crime has been committed? Okay. Like you keep circling. There's a war crime. Agree to disagree. What was the war crime?
Okay, they would have to provide you with evidence that it was unintentional, and even if it was unintentional, they would have to admit to it. They haven't done either of those things yet.
So not admitting to doing something, not apologizing for something does not.
Well, you have to be able to show evidence to it first, which they haven't done. They've blamed Iran for it, but obviously we're going to agree to disagree. But you talked about the Constitution. Would you consider?
Well, we need to add agree to disagree to the bingo card, because he just does that whenever it's clear he doesn't know what he's talking about. He just goes agree to disagree. I'm like, agree to disagree on what? You're saying it's a war crime. I'm saying what crime, and you're like, they didn't say please before. Like, oh my god, what?
This is a great debate strategy. Just go into all of your debates, and then if you're losing, just say, well, we're just going to agree to disagree, and then not explain it as if that's not the reason why you're there debating, is to disagree with the opponent and explain why you disagrry. Just agree to disagree.
You know what's hilarious is that there's actually a rage bait that I like to do on my friends called the agree to disagree, where you say something that's just like just atrocious and not true at all. Like and then when they start arguing, you go, look, like we'll just agree to disagree on this. Like just have an awful take as bad as you can. Like honestly, Tom Brady doesn't break top 10 quarterbacks all time. Like honestly. And then when they get mad, just bro, it's agree to disagree. It's not a big deal. It doesn't matter.
Saying it's illegal, but you like international statute, constitutional mechanism.
They haven't shown
like there's no law.
They haven't shown any evidence that Iran.
Yeah, for whoever said you spent $100 for a haircut, I was just as surprised as you are. I am not somebody to spend $100 on a haircut. It was like super last second, and I was desperate because I had a really important event that day, and I am still haunted by it. And this was weeks ago. I'm still. Like, I still think about it every single day. I'm really, really not happy. And it's like the barber, I guess he gave me what I asked for, but this is not $100 haircut.
Iran was an imminent threat. Do you know his own guy that was at the top of the list stepped down? The guy that had all the intelligence. Do you remember this guy who stepped down? His name, I'm forgetting his name for a moment, who stepped down. And the reason why he stepped down, you couldn't find somebody more MAGA Republican than this guy. He said there was no imminent threat.
Oh, I know who you're talking about. Yes, the guy who had nothing to do with the war. Yeah, no, that guy did step down.
No, the guy who had more intelligence than you.
That guy is he's such a schmuck. He's a schmuck. Clearly
Donald Trump hired him in a very important position and said he was great. So
no, Donald Trump hired him because the guy was down on his luck and knew a bunch of party officials, and they gave him a job.
Yeah, we're talking about.
Yeah, so this is another example of why bureaucracy is bad. So they basically hire this total loser guy who's like unemployed and jobless and like having a super miserable go at life, and they're like, we'll give him a federal job, and then he comes out and he's like, oh guys, the Iran strikes, and he says a bunch of stuff that just isn't, first of all, isn't true. Second of all, even if it was true, he just wouldn't have had access to that information because he had no special clarification or clearance for war stuff. And then he also starts saying some stuff about like Erica Kirk killing Charlie, and it's like, bro, this is who the left chooses to ally themselves with. It's like Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? You look back at like CNN and things years ago, they're like, this Republican congresswoman thinks that the Jews have a laser in space that they're using to start the wildfires in California. Fast forward 4 years, she hates Trump. They're like, Marjorie Taylor Greene is the bravest woman in politics. She's the best among us, and we really, really need to respect her, even though she's part of the opposite side, because she's willing to call out evil when she sees it. It's like, no, she's actually just evil and anti-Semitic. And I'm not somebody who says anti-Semitism willy-nilly. Like, you can be anti-Israel. I don't care. I don't care about Israel. I care about America. But like actual anti-Semitism, and then it's like, oh, well, she doesn't like Trump, so it's cool. Oh, this guy who's clearly crazy lost his mind and has no way of knowing this information. Well, he's against the Iran war, so he must be telling the truth.
Okay, so
yeah. No, but regardless, isn't that guy that's like the Nick Fuentes adjacent, like?
So what does that have to do with what I just said?
No, just you're like, oh, this super credible source in the White House who's like tangentially related to white supremacy.
Hold on. So first of all, I didn't say he was super credible. What I did say is
this incredibly uncredible man who did a terrible job.
Didn't say that either. What I did
I'm saying that. No, I'm saying that.
Well, I think it's very convenient for your argument to say that, but the guy who literally had more intelligence than almost anybody else in the entire administration is saying that they were not an imminent threat, and that's why he actually stepped down. So I completely disagree with you there. But I want to ask you about the Constitution. Okay, would you consider yourself a constitutionalist?
I struggle with labels. I think other people would consider me a constitutionalist.
Okay. Do you think they're handling immigration and going by what it says in our Constitution? Are they going by the Constitution with deportation?
When you say with the deportations, now I want to be clear. I don't agree with the Trump admin's deportations in a lot of circumstances. Okay. I think
due process. Do you think they're all getting due process?
Oh, they are now. They were.
I want to clarify for the people in chat. I'm specifically referring to the ones in Minnesota where we really didn't deport many people at all, and we spent a ton of money, and it was a PR nightmare. Those are the particular ones I'm referring to here. They weren't before, but the Supreme Court ruled, and then Trump returned the people that needed to return and gave them due process.
Are people that have? Do you agree with me that if you're an undocumented immigrant, you still deserve due process? Is that fair?
You're constitutionally obligated due process. The word deserve is too vague. I don't know what that means. But yes, you have to get due process.
I don't think it's vague, because in the Constitution it says any person. It doesn't say any citizen. So I don't think
just the term deserve is a moral term, and we're talking like legality here. So I would just say yes. Under our Constitution, everybody within the United States.
So right now, there are still people that have filled out the proper paperwork that are seeking asylum that are being illegally deported. Are you?
That is so asylum claims getting deported is different than due process for citizens, because an asylum claim is not the same thing as somebody being called as an undocumented immigrant.
I agree. It depends which country. Let's talk about Mexico.
Also, there's this misunderstanding of what due process is. Due process varies from situation to situation. If you see somebody cross over the Mexico border into the United States and they don't have any documentation, any ID, any way to show that they're an American citizen, and they're not acting like an American citizen, they don't speak the American language, the due process at that point is to drive them down and kick them out. So due process can actually vary, and this is well established. Like we know this, and we agree, and cross bipartisanly. So due process isn't just like, oh, you get due process, you get a trial, you do these very specific things. Due process is like an actual term that, again, Brian obviously doesn't understand.
If you come to this country from Mexico, you're an undocumented immigrant, but you have filed the proper paperwork, you're making your court appearances. Do you think it's legal for the Trump administration under the Constitution to deport those individuals?
So the remain in Mexico. So it depends what you mean by deport. We have a remain in Mexico policy now, which I'm largely in favor of.
Throw you out of the country because you're an undocumented immigrant. Very clear.
Yeah. No. So okay. If the very simple way that you've put it, I would say no, but that's not the nuance. So it's a policy of remain in Mexico. What happened under Biden is they removed a policy called remain in Mexico, which says you stay outside of the United States while we process your asylum claim.
I understand. And then I didn't ask you about Joe Biden, though. I just asked you what's going on in the country.
Oh my God. The audacity for me to bring up Joe Biden. He goes, I'd ask you about Joe Biden. Why are you talking about Joe Biden? As if every time I say literally anything, he doesn't go, what about Donald Trump? Have you ever thought about Donald Trump? Did you know Donald Trump is a 34-count felon? Donald Trump was found civilly liable of grape. Donald Trump, like, he's the guy that's going to go, why are we talking about Joe Biden? When I'm literally just trying to explain the differences.
I love it. It's so funny.
I'm saying, so Donald Trump, when people say he's deporting people back who are seeking asylum, a lot of the time it is just remain in Mexico. So if you have a processing asylum claim, we have U.S. facilities in Mexico that you stay in. And then when your court date happens, you come to the United States. If you get okayed, you're released into the country. If you're not okayed, you get sent back to wherever
you gave me the easy answer.
That is all constitutional.
I understand, but I gave you a specific example and you did say no. And I agree with you. The Trump administration is breaking the law.
I want to highlight this response. So a lawyer buddy explained due process like this. The word applies equally to a person found inside a theater with a ticket and a person found without one, but they're an entirely different process. So that is 100% true. And that's why immigration courts in California, you don't get a jury. You go in front of a judge, you present the evidence, and then that's how it goes for deportations generally. But somebody else said immigration law is due process for illegals. There is no due process in the Constitution for illegals. It does say all persons within the United States. And I've literally never seen any historical context that would show that wouldn't apply to illegal immigrants. But I do want to highlight again, what due process is varies, but everyone in the United States is entitled to due process. And if you have any other sources otherwise, show it to me.
Yeah. Or you can join the debate server and debate us.
Yes, join the debate server and debate us. We'd love to speak about it.
What do you think about what's happening?
That's not what I said.
Well, you said no immediately. What do you think about what's going on in Minneapolis? Like,
so this is why it's so difficult, because I always say I want to give the context first and then answer, and then people say no, you have to answer and then give the context, and then they just discard the context if I do that. So
it's pretty simple. If you're seeking asylum from a country like Mexico and you're filling
you
out,
can be asked to remain in Mexico while we process your asylum claim.
But those aren't the people that I was just talking about. I'm talking about people that are already in this country. They're undocumented, but they are asylum seekers. They've filed the proper paperwork. They've made their court dates. Those are the specific people that I asked you about. I didn't ask you about those other people. Your immediate answer was no, which I agree with you with. The Trump administration is breaking the law. Those people are not getting due process, just like the people that were. Just like the people that were deported at El Salvador. Were you okay with that because they had tattoos?
That was not a violation of the law.
You're wrong. 60% of those people that were deported to El Salvador, and by the way, some of those people.
Honestly, kudos to Brian. You'd have to be so brave at this point to just have every single turn you say something that you think is a fact, and then you just get stomped every single time that any subject comes up. And then to have that happen like 10 times, and then have the gall, audacity, and bravery to say, oh, you're wrong. I would never think to say that. I'd maybe go like, maybe this is what it is. I've heard this, but I would not go, you're wrong, after getting proven wrong at every single turn for like an hour.
You gotta clip this on your Instagram and YouTube channel, but it's kind of difficult to figure out which parts you should clip because it's just going to end up being the full 2 hours.
Literally, yeah.
Sent back because some Trump judges have made those decisions.
Were they sent back? Why were they sent back exactly? That's
because they didn't get due process. Okay, and in that El Salvador prison. Okay, those were for thugs, some of the worst of the worst. 60% of those people that were sent out there, 60 Minutes did a story about this, are non-violent criminals. We're not talking about people getting deported back to their countries. We're talking about
so this is a very different. So 60% of them are prosecuted for violent crimes when they get back. That doesn't mean 60% of them are non-violent criminals. Also, if you're a criminal in the United States, if you committed a crime, and so somebody's asking in chat about illegal immigration at the time of the signing. So states had a much stronger immigration process. So if you wanted to immigrate into a state, there also wasn't as many people wanting to come from all over the country. They signed in an immigration act a few years after the Constitution was ratified and the Union was started, and that did discriminate on the type of people who are willing to come into the country. But as far as illegal immigration at the founding, I don't think it was nearly as big of an issue. Firstly, because we didn't have such a welfare state. So now people want to migrate from all over the earth to just come here and then declare or claim as many benefits as they can. And it also was just less globalized, so there was less people immigrating in general. I don't care if it wasn't violent. I don't care if you were like driving under the influence. You are getting deported. Absolutely.
Driving under the influence is a felony. I'm not talking about that.
Not a violent crime, but the 60 minutes definition was violent crime. So a lot of these people, all of them committed a crime. And just on top of that,
a misdemeanor. Just because you commit a misdemeanor doesn't mean you should be sent to an El Salvador prison. That is not legal, and that shouldn't be happening. That was also
it's not illegal, and the Supreme Court has held up this precedent. You can argue it's wrong and it shouldn't happen.
If you don't get due process, it is illegal. We've already established that. Everybody deserves due process.
Yeah. If you don't get due process, but the Supreme Court overrode that, and the Trump admin went back, got the people, and then they're doing everything, and they're giving due process.
When some of these people were in a plane headed to an El Salvador prison, a judge, or by the way, when it was still on the ground, the judge
it was not still on the ground.
There was one plane that was still on the ground. Yes, that is true. And the Trump administration did not. They allowed those people to be sent to an El Salvador prison.
Do you think? Okay, so do you think a single federal judge has the ability to override federal policy?
I think if a judge makes a decision, the Trump administration needs to abide by that decision. They have.
So I'm gonna give you a specific example, because this is actually people say, oh, this longstanding precedent. I think the first time this was done was in the 1970s, and it's exclusively been used by liberal judges because they don't understand how it works. And also, the Supreme Court has ruled that appellate courts do not have the ability to.
Are you okay, Miguel? But before we get into the weeds here, are you okay with someone who's been in this country?
Before we get into the weeds, which I know absolutely nothing about, and you clearly are going to have a knockdown argument for, like, oh gosh, how does he not get tired of just saying something and then me instantly proving it wrong? Like, if I were him, I'd just be like, oh God, like, my bad. I guess I didn't know.
I think he just has reassurance in the fact that his audience is going to eat it up anyways.
Yeah, that his audience.
That's literally it.
I'm inclined to believe that the average age of Brian's viewers is probably the average IQ of them as well, like 75 maybe.
That makes a lot of sense, but it's really funny because every time I see clips like from these left-wing influencers, I'll watch the clip and I go like, why did they think that was a clip? Like they actually genuinely got clipped in that exchange that they just posted. And then I'll look at the comments and I'll be like, oh, that's why. That's why.
Yeah.
We're committed.
And someone said we don't send them to prison, we send them to El Salvador, and they put their own citizens into a prison. So we were actually deporting people who weren't El Salvadorian to El Salvador for their prisons, which, while technically not illegal, has some moral implications. But definitely not illegal under federal law. But my understanding is that we were actually sending non-Salvadorians to El Salvador prisons.
Is a misdemeanor, not having the proper paperwork. Are you okay with those people being deported to El Salvador prisons? I'm asking, forget about the law.
Oh, no. I am super pro-immigration. I think that there should be a lot of more pathways to citizenship. You're not going to find a Republican who's more pro-immigration. I don't believe in open borders or anything, but you're like, I'm all on board. But what I'm saying is you're lodging these claims because they activate that amygdala part. Trump is refusing due process. Trump is ignoring judges. And it's just not true. The Trump administration has no obligation to listen to a federal judge. It's at that, even the Supreme Court mechanism.
Even the Supreme Court?
He did listen to the Supreme Court. When the Supreme Court ruled, he went out.
Not the first go around.
When the Supreme Court ruled, he went back, retrieved the people from the El Salvador prison, and brought them back to the United States and gave them due process.
The Supreme Court ruled, I forgot the man that was from Maryland. The Supreme Court ruled multiple times that he needed to be sent back. The Trump administration was not cooperative. There's plenty of instances where I can tell you that the Trump administration did not
the Supreme Court. No, the Supreme Court document said that a reasonable effort needed to be made to return the man. It did not say that the man needed to be returned.
Did they make a reasonable effort?
I honestly, the specific Maryland case that you're bringing up, I haven't looked into as deeply.
The answer is no. They did not make a reasonable effort.
You've been a little. I don't want to say dishonest because I think you're trying your best. You've been very inaccurate with. Is that a backhanded compliment? Is that like a backhanded insult? What do you even call that? I don't want to say you're being dishonest because I think you're trying your best. You're just not smart enough, I guess, or something. Oh gosh, I didn't even mean to be snarky there. That's genuinely just my frustrations compiling and me trying to be as honest as possible. Oh gosh. The law and constitution.
How have I been inaccurate when it comes to this specific situation?
The saying
Oh,
that
he goes, how have I been inaccurate as it comes to this one very specific situation, knowing full well that if you said, how have I been inaccurate, that I could have listed 10 examples instantly from this debate.
Trump was ignoring federal courts illegally.
No.
Which-
Reasonable effort is the word. You're correct that the Supreme Court used
the
in the
Supreme
word.
Court said. No. I'm saying that in every other matter of legal definitions, you've been inaccurate, saying that the Iran war was illegal, or that Congress has the ability to decide when we go to war.
Well,
Like all those things were inaccurate.
Again,
And you know,
again-
if everything you're saying is exactly how you said with this specific Maryland case, sure, there's one case of abuse, but I also want to say that every other example that you've given has just been pretty blatant left-wing misinformation.
I completely disagree with you. I've brought up a lot of different issues in this conversation. I brought up, of course, the 2020 election, which you, I think, agree with me that.
Oh, where is it? Where's the bingo? Is 2020 here? Trump Epstein.
It's gotta be.
Not January 6th. Oh, whataboutism, right? What about when I brought up the 2020 election for sure? When I say he's being inaccurate there. Has he said that? Let's see. 34 count felon Epstein files. Has he gotten super red yet? I'm not sure. Liable for sexual assault.
I think he does at some point.
Trump shroom.
You know, he got a lot more red at the Enough America debate.
No, I'm being very specific on the idea that the Trump administration is flagrantly.
Yeah, someone in chat said the Maryland man was returned. That was my understanding as well. But the difference between Brian and I is when I'm 95% sure about something, I don't fucking say it. Like, I am so scared of being called out for being factually wrong on a debate. There's like so many facts I'll have in my head, but I won't drop them because I'm not 100% sure they're true. And that's one of them, was whether or not the Maryland man was returned. Which is why I said, I suspect that you're wrong, but I'm not going to call you out for it. But you don't have a great reputation for telling the truth either.
Ignoring the law. Every other example that you've brought up has been like literally just inaccurate, and you haven't been able to cite a law, cite a part of the Constitution.
There are examples about our Constitution, people taking away their First, Third, and Fourth Amendment rights away. I can talk to you about ICE. I can talk to you about random people being asked in the streets and being racially profiled.
And I'm not talking about the future examples you bring up. I'm saying from everything you've brought up so far, none of them have been accurate, aside from the things that I vocally agree with.
I disagree with you. I think
evidenced by the fact that every single time I've asked you to cite a law, cite a UN charter, literally anything.
I've talked to you literally and gave you specific examples about people that are seeking asylum from Mexico. What about Minneapolis? What are your thoughts on that, about people taking away, ICE agents taking away your First, Third, and Fourth Amendment rights away, for example, going up to people and racially profiling and asking them for papers? Are you okay with that?
So it's more nuanced than a yes or no. I'd say that personally, the Minnesota raids. No,
wait,
I
how
think
is that nuanced? Wait, hold on. How is this nuanced? Hold on. You randomly.
I can answer that question. That's
hold
what
on. I'm going to give you a
just now.
I understand.
How? I think there's a lot of nuance. How is this nuanced? And then I think it's nuanced because hold on, brother, you're asking the question.
Don't explain the nuance. You're not allowed to explain nuance. That was so funny because every time when these Enough American people were at our university, every time we would explain nuance, they would treat it like it was a concession.
Yeah. Oh, so what you're saying is that you don't like how... Yes, I guess, sure. I don't like part of it. That's what nuance is. Oh,
yeah,
gosh.
what I'm saying is that I do not 100% agree with every single thing that Donald Trump has done in every single way that he has done it.
Yeah.
That's but I still support it because of this and this and this. Like, oh, well...
Oh, but so you still voted for him.
So
but you still voted for him. It's just so ridiculous. And it's like any I think it's because they have an image of the Trump supporter in their head where it's just like a cult mentality where everyone's 100% on board with everything. So when you discredit that, they go, you lost because the Trump position is Trump is Jesus. You lost that fight. It's like, dude, I was never fighting that fight to begin with. Like, this was not, the battle was not whether or not Trump is the second coming of Jesus Christ, but that's how they treat it.
It's interesting because so there's a few interesting things going on, because on the right, I could reasonably point out at different conservative influencers and say how they differ in their ideology. But I struggle to do that with the left, despite the fact that like I've been consuming a lot of their content just to like keep up with what they're saying. And yet, like, you know, when I look at like Parker or Dean Withers, like I'm like, they just like subscribe to whatever is progressive.
That's
and then
a
like
really
there's
good point.
Yeah.
No,
Like, and so it almost it almost makes sense that they would think this because they're like, we are this way. We just like agree with everything our party says. So obviously they have to be the same way.
Yeah, no, like I can point out different people like Ben Shapiro. Yeah, he's a little bit more neocon. He doesn't agree, he likes foreign intervention, but he's hyper pro free market. And then you have Michael Knowles, who's a little bit more reserved into supportive markets. And like I can point out all the little things that are different about every single right-wing debater, or like, oh, Andrew Wilson's more of a Christian nationalist, more focused on like a duty responsibility than anything else. But with left-wing streamers, you just literally can't do that at all. Jordan Cooper, thank you so much for stopping by. Have a good night. um like it, yeah, I've never thought about, they're like all this, they're actually the same. Like they accuse us of being a cult. There's so much diversity on our side. Like you go to a Turning Point USA meeting at Berkeley, and it's just students arguing, like everyone just debating the different things that they don't agree on. We're on the left wing, it's like a homogenous clump where they all hold the exact same beliefs that Trump is Satan himself, and that like progressive policy is always good 100% of the time.
It's really funny because I remember when our Andrew from UC Berkeley, went up to speak with both us and with the Democrats, and he had two very different experiences. When he talked to us, he saw how multiple of us were different, how we were able to have a conversation with him on his hyper libertarian ideologies, and how we didn't get upset about anything. But then when he talked to the Democrats, they just rage baited themselves, and he didn't have to do anything.
Mhm.
Like they rage baited themselves at the thought that there's not ideological conformity, because there's one guy who said, "Oh, maybe there's some people who are not as pro-choice," and then they just start getting upset at that. And it's like there's all these little examples just going on everywhere, and it's just like very clear that there's just a thing that they just agree to, and then they just find ways to agree to it. It's like the Texas sharpshooter fallacy, where it's like, okay, I'm going to start with the conclusion and then look for evidence. And these influencers just perform based off of tricks. And then when you don't do that, because they just think that you're supposed to be, in support of Trump, and that's the only thing that matters is how much you support Trump, or like not how much you support Trump, but like just your ability to support Trump and everything that he does, because that's essentially how they view it on their side. Except they're just like really bad at defending, their position, because they just don't want to talk about Kamala Harris. And I think the Kamala Harris thing has been starting to annoy some of them, because they've noticed like how bad of a candidate Kamala Harris was. And Brian Shapiro in particular, I think I saw him upload a video saying like, Kamala, please do not run again for the presidency. We do not want you. Like I think he literally said that. and and I've been seeing that more and more. And of course, a lot of people are just like, the narrative, even I think from a lot of people, was Kamala isn't our favorite candidate. Like, we want like a different one. Um, and it was just like really interesting, because they started getting tired defending Kamala Harris and defending like the administration. But needless to say, they still like try to support every single thing that she does and says. So there's like a kind of like interesting contradiction going on, where they don't want Kamala because they know how unpopular she is, but they still support everything she says and does.
Yeah, no, it's fire point, I think, to end the stream on that. I guess all left-wing progressives are the same. Seems like the only thing they disagree on is like some of them want to be outward about their support for political violence, and some people want to be more covert. But yeah, I mean, thank you so much for your time, John Paul. Thank you so much to our viewers here today. Again, it's so great to have a chat to speak with here. And it really does make our process here so much more enjoyable. So God bless you guys. Have a good night. And I got work in the morning, so I'm going to head out. Let's see.
Matt.
Yes, we will look at those chats. Thank you so much. All right. Good.